Oh, you know what? Bring me my laptop. My laptop. Yeah.
Very hot.
It is. It's getting hot in here.
I plead the fifth. Ladies and gentlemen, can I get you to step outside to your headquarters of jury deliberation, please? All right.
During the course of human events, it becomes necessary.
I plead the fifth. Ladies and gentlemen, can I get you to step outside to your headquarters of jury deliberation, please? All right.
During the course of human events, it becomes necessary for people to dissolve ties which have connected them with leadership and to assume among the powers of the earth the autonomy to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitled them, a decent ability to acquiesce to the laws of God, dictated to them as per their unique anatomy and needs, biochemical freedom. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equally unique, endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consented of the governed. That whenever any form of education becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute a new form of education, laying its foundations on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence indeed will dictate that institutions long established shall not be changed for light and transient causes. And accordingly, all experience have shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer while evils are sufferable than to right themselves by abolishing the education to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such education and to provide new books for their future security. Such has been the patient sufferance of these American minorities, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of education. The history of the present education system is a history of repeated injuries and usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute monopoly over these states. To provide this, let facts be submitted to a candid world. We only pray to you for biochemical freedom. The education system has refused inclusivity in subject matter, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. The education system has forbidden its teachers from teaching culturally and biochemically relevant material of immediate and pressing importance, truth suspended in their operation till the education system should become culturally and biochemically relevant. The education system has refused to teach other lessons for the accommodation of large districts of people, even when those people relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only. The education system has called together archaic lessons from places unusual, irrelevant, and unimportant from the despotory of their public health for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with the standard of premature death. The education system has downplayed naturopathic and holistic healers repeatedly for opposing with manly firmness invasions on the rights of the people to understanding how their own body works. We only pray to you for biochemical freedom. The education system has refused for a long time after such disrespect to cause others to create curriculums whereby the institutional powers incapable of monopoly of minds have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all the dangers of premature death from ignorance and self-inflicted damage from within. The education system has endeavored to prevent the population of these states for that purpose, obstructing the education for naturalization of biochemical uniformity, refusing to pass others to encourage their own internal exploration hither, and raising the standards of new education to include culturally and biochemically relevant material. The education system has obstructed the administration of truth by refusing natural laws for establishing biochemical balance. The education system has made doctors dependent on their will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. The education system has erected a multitude of new schools and sent hither swarms of teachers to brainwash our people and eat out their substance. The education system has kept among us, in times of opportunity, stale lessons without the inclusion of our cultural differences. The education system has affected to render the school system independent of and superior to the needs of its pupils. We only pray to you for biochemical freedom. The education system has combined with corporations to subject us to a monopoly and lifestyle foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our Constitution, giving their assent to their acts of pretended education, for quartering large bodies of programmed teachers among us, for protecting them by mock rules from punishment of any and all mentally dead which they create of the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our history of biochemistry, for imposing murderous traditions of eating and socializing on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of education by our own, for quarantining us with a 100-year-old ideology, creating 6 slaves at best in the future, for abolishing the free system of education via alternative texts, establishing therein an arbitrary education system and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it at once a superficial example and pseudo-fit instrument for introducing the same poor standards to our progeny, for taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable lessons and traditions, and altering fundamentally the forms of our education that serve us best, for suspending our own intelligence and declaring themselves invested with power to think for us in all cases whatsoever. The education system has abdicated true education here by declaring us incapable and waging biochemical war against us. The education system has plundered our children's dreams, ravaged our futures, inflamed our organs, and destroyed the health of our people. The education system at this time training large armies of teachers to compleat the works of death, desolation, and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy, scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages and totally unworthy of the people in the greatest nation on earth. The education system has constrained our people, taking captive their minds against their own bodies, to become the executioners of themselves and brethren, or to fall themselves by their own hands. The education system has excited domestic internal terrorism against us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless bacteria and viruses whose known rule of warfare is a weak body with a weak immune system of all ages, sexes, and conditions. In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been unanswered or answered only by repeated indifference and injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the educator of a free people. Nor have we been wanting in attentions to do better for ourselves. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their education to extend an unwarrantable monopoly over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity, and we have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow usurpations which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence. They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separate education and educate them, as we educate the rest of mankind, students in war, and teachers in peace. We only pray to you for biochemical freedom. We therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in general, assembled in mind, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, due in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united minorities are and of right ought to be free and independently educated, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the paperocracy, and that all corporate connection between them and the education system is and ought to be totally disavowed, and that as free, independent minds, they have full power to create curriculums, conclude health, contract alliances, establish curriculums, and to do all other acts and things which independent minds may of right do, and for the support of this declaration with a firm reliance on the protection of the divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. The people. It ain't no fun when a rabbit got the gun, you heard? Peace to the family out there. Peace to the family out there. We're getting ready to go in. Bantu said, what the, Doc, what was, why you, Doc, what was, that was a little warm up. Oh my goodness. How's everybody doing? Hotep Jesus will be in the building shortly. Hotep and Bill. You said volume is low? Yo. Okay. I think that's better. Hotep and Bill to the family from Hotepistan. All right. We getting ready to go in. We got a nice video we're getting ready to go into. We got a nice video that we're getting ready to go into. Somebody sent it to me. Shout out to the Black Hand out of Philly. Yeah, somebody sent me the video and asked me to do a reaction to it, right? It's a long video. But and trust me, I could have handled it. You know what I'm saying? But the content that I've been consuming the last couple of days over in Hotepistan, the content that I've been listening to over there, from not just Hotep Jesus, but you know, he's cultivated, you know, a group of fellow scholars and you know, history buffs, etc. So I said to myself, you know what? Especially after the response that we got from Friday night. You know what I'm saying? That was a really nice response. I want to thank everybody that subscribed to the channel. Everybody that shared the video, whether you shared the video on purpose, whether you shared the video on purpose or you just hit the thumbs up, right? Either way, I want to definitely appreciate the family, the people who are already working on the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. That's what these two books are right here. The Constitution. Can you see that? Right up the top right there. Electrician Manual Constitution and Declaration of Independence. Whew. I am so proud
Well, I was. Let me say this. Let me keep it real. Let me be honest with y'all. Maybe if I'm more honest with y'all, y'all be more honest with me. I was proud to get those books done, right? Because, you know, I had a goal for myself, right? I had a goal to get 50 books done, right? So I started last cancer season, right around my birthday. The first book dropped on, and it was special, you know, at least for me, you know what I'm saying, me and the children. It was special because the first book dropped on 7/22. 7/22 is the Kemetic pi, right? 3.14 is the decimal system that came later on, but 7/22, right? So that number, you know, that's a number right there. That's one of them. That's one of them the numbers. You know what I'm saying? So first book dropped 7/22. My goal, and this was, trust me when I say this was a lofty goal. This was, you know, they say if you shoot for the stars, you know, you land on the moon or something to that effect. Like, I did not think it was possible, right? Because I really was rejected so many times. I really didn't even believe I was going to get my book accepted onto Amazon, right? So when I got it, you know, and I'm saying to myself, you know, I'm about to drop 50 on them. You know, I'm thinking in my LeBron, you know, I'm in the LeBron / Mamba, you know, I'm like, I'm about to drop 50 on Jeff Bezos' ass. You know what I'm saying? So that was a lofty goal. You know what I'm saying? I figured, you know, if I wound up with 10, 15, 20, I would be happy, you know. So coming up close to my birthday, my self-imposed deadline, I'm like, you got 2 to go. You lit. You know what I'm saying? So take your time, put together, you know. And so I had been working on these 2 books. Well, actually 1 book. This is supposed to be 1 book, the new version of the Eat Right. You know what I'm saying? But obviously it got too big. And so I don't know if y'all remember, but the original Eat Right, like the very last chapter was on exercise and working out and blah, blah, blah. So that was always a regret that I had from that book, that I didn't put more into that portion. Like the book should. So anyway, when this book started to get too big and crazy, I knew that I needed to divide this book. And so I wanted to do a better job of dividing this book in 2 than I did with these guys. Right? Because this was originally 1 book. Yeah. This was originally 1 book, right? And when I was doing this book, I found out the limits of how much you could write, and I just kind of chopped it in half. But that's not, you know, that's not what I really wanted to do, right? But so these books came out perfect. Like, well, I ain't gonna say perfect, because right now I'm wrestling with Amazon. Somehow I like cropped out a picture and they like uncropped it, and like there's a picture in here that I don't like. But other than that, these books came out perfect, right? So I go to like count. Now I know all the books is not available, some is gone, but it's still just me keeping track of, like, you know, my goal. So I'm thinking I'm lit. You know, my birthday is this weekend. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking I'm lit. I didn't hit my number, you know what I'm saying? 50. I don't know how, you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't even think I would come close to it, but by the time you know, like April and May rolled around. I was like, oh shit, I might be able to, you know. So I go to Amazon, you know, not the website, but like the publishing part. I go in there. Fuck. And in my mind, I don't know why, but I just immediately like cussed out Osborne real quick in my mind. Osborne ain't have nothing to do with it. But Osborne been asking me for a food book for the longest. Like Osborne and I guess Osborne and Aubrey. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't really blame Aubrey, but and you know, in my mind, I was like, I'm gonna have to do a food book. Because I wound up counting and it came up to 49 books. You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I need to do another book. I need to drop another book before my birthday. So that's why I was excited. I had a fake victory lap when the books was released last week, but then I had to disappear again. I had to work on. I had to get the food book. You know, I had to work on the food book. Now, mind you, it wasn't as hard because I had a whole bunch of notebooks, like black and white notebooks, already with mad stuff in it. You know what I'm saying? So it was just a matter of typing up. But I also got a couple of text messages from some like people have been asking me for a long time for a regular food book. And I don't know what it is. Like maybe I'm allergic to sales. With all these children, I need the money, right? I don't know what it is. You know what I'm saying? I just felt like, in all honesty, that and everything happens in season. You know, God is always. I just felt like that food list thing had already been overdone. I didn't want to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, eat these foods, don't eat these foods. Like I just could not bring myself to do anything like that. So what I did was, and then people always ask me what I eat. Like that's always a thing. But so Doc, what are you eating though? We hear all the science and all that, but what are you eating? And so my cheat code is not much. And people like, well, you know, you're getting, you know, you get a little pudgy sometimes, Doc. So, you know, we know you're eating something, right? But I'm gonna be honest. And Jimmy, I don't know if Jimmy will be in the live right now watching or if he'll see this video. Well, he'll probably see it, but I'm sure he's not in the live. When I went through the transformation with his mom, right? So when I met Jimmy, his mom had stage 4 lung cancer and bone cancer, right? And she lost her driver's license. She was legally blind. She couldn't speak, right, because of the lung cancer. And here's this guy Jimmy calling me up from, you know, Miami, you know. So and you know, kind of similar. If you heard my story about Rob, shout out to Rob Scott and his mom. Very similar story. Jimmy was very anxious to purchase, you know, the cure. Like, so EnQi, I've been watching these videos, and you know, I hear you know, you got something that can help us fight this cancer. So we just want to you know, we want to know how much it'll cost to buy the herbs. I'm like, yeah, that's he like, well, you know, the hospital said, you know, we got like, you know, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, you know. So she's got to report to the hospice. So we don't really have time, because I'm telling them, you know, the way I work is, you know, I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you. And then you're going to basically be the healer, and I'm just going to be, you know, I'm be like your coat, you know, your corner man. I'm gonna be in the corner. You gonna get in the ring though. So like, yeah, we don't really have time for that. So I'm like, so long story short, you know, the 4 weeks passes, the 8 weeks passes, 4 months pass, 8 months pass, 12 months pass. She gets her driver's license back. She gets her eyesight back. 2 years pass. They can't find any cancer, blah, blah, blah. You know, you probably know the story already, right? But anyway, through the course of that situation, you know, I was learning from, because I said to myself, now we had already been doing like the 40-day. And if you've ever done the 40-day fast, or if you have the goal book, right, and you go through the protocol in the goal book, you know, there's a point where, you know, you kind of wean yourself off of food and you just get to like smoothies and juices and things like that. So I had done it, you know, a few times, whatever. But the thing about the 40-day fast is, after you do it a bunch of times, you kind of just get comfortable out there in that space. You know, you kind of get comfortable out there in that space. And if your body's never experienced something, your body won't miss it. But once you go through and you experience that high, you know, like that level of energy, the sex, you know, like your sex will be really different. You know, like a lot of y'all be watching and don't fully, you know, follow, you know, but your sex changes. Telling you. Yeah, I think, you know, I got all these children for a reason. Then, you know, towards the end, I just start having 2 children at a time. You know, I had to, you know, so your sex changes, you know what I'm saying? So when you come back down off of eating like that, you know, you miss it. It's like if you have a good workout and you consistent for 3 months, 6 months or whatever, and then you fall off and stop working out, you feel it. You know what I'm saying? It's like your body tries to get you to, you know, so I don't, you know, my thing is living out of the blender. Long story short, anyway. I know I'm talking y'all to death. Here go Hotep. Here go Hotep Jesus in the building. Don DeMarco.
What's up, bro?
You?
I'm just over here posting it to my Twitter so people could come join the discussion.
Okay. Yeah.
How's everything going, man?
I'm just talking their head off. Waiting for you to jump in here.
Oh, okay. We here. We live.
Yeah.
It's up.
It's stuck up too. But to close, you know, the book, the 50th book, you know what I'm saying, is called Kitchen Chemistry. And, you know, it has, I don't even know how many smoothies I put in there, but I tried to sprinkle in a few smoothies for, you know, I think I got like 1 or 2 smoothies in there for people, you know, dealing with eggs, vegetarians, or just straight meat eaters, or whatever the case may be. But I think I got about 60, 70, 80. It's a good bit of recipes in there. And then what I did, instead of doing like a eat this and don't eat that kind of food list, like a Sabi list or top 10 to build your testosterone, what I wanted to do specifically was talk about foods that heal and how they heal, and even give you specifics of foods that have been converted into prescription medicine.
It's a lot of that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So that's that. Let me
I had
get
the worst smoothie today.
the worst.
The worst. I suck at making smoothies. I had coconut water, banana, apple, blueberries, and baobab powder. Tastes like shit.
I don't know. Your proportion your portions must have been, because that actually sound pretty good.
I never get the portions right.
You know what you probably should have did?
What?
How many bananas you put in there?
One?
Okay, yeah. You probably should have did one regular banana and then had one black, like one ripe banana.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. See, with the children,
I hate when they ripe right.
No, sometimes with the well, when they get real sweet, like when they start black. Yeah. Well, see, with the children, they've made me into a more well-rounded, because everything is the negotiation. You know what I'm saying? Like my mind, I just want the nutrients, but sometimes that don't taste.
That's all I care about. I just want the nutrition
is bitter. The bitter is better. But children haven't tasted mortality yet, so they don't really care about all,
Yeah, they want taste. I don't really care about taste. I just, as long as I get my nutrients in there, I'm fine. Who's in the chat? Just ordered the new book, Dr. EnQi, Big Love. First Crip Jesus, now Hotep Jesus. Yeah, we here, baby. All my Jesus homies.
Listen, and that gotta tell. Listen, somebody else said that to me, and they said, you know what? It must be something about you that you keep attracting Jesuses around you. Like I said, I'm gonna roll with that. I'm a roll. Sometimes you gotta just let stuff roll off. Like just what Jay said. Crossed over, waved away picks. Like sometimes you just gotta wave away. But I was like, I'm gonna accept that. I'm gonna just. I don't fully understand it, but I'm gonna roll with that.
Nah, that's fire.
I'm gonna roll with that.
Yo, this software make it look like I got a filter on. I got some app.
No. You just that's that melanin, bro. Yeah, that's that June, July. That's that Cancer season melanin right there, bro.
Let me see what's going on here. Hold on, man. They got some sort of. I feel like they put a filter on me.
Nah, that's that summertime melanin, man. Listen, that UVB is hitting, right? The UVB is hitting, and what's happening is the UVA is hitting at the same time, so you're getting that Kool-Aid. And then depending on where you at, y'all folks down by the equator, y'all are getting sprinkled with UVC. See, that never comes up north up here. If you're in Philly, Detroit, Jersey, you're never getting UVC. You can forget about that. But there are like traces and splashes of UVC during the summer that actually make it through the atmosphere every so often. Oh my goodness! Wait a minute. What are we doing? What kind of showing off is happening over here? what kind of showing off? This? What kind of flies? What the fuck is this?
I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on here, yo. What is this?
Yeah. None of that has anything to do with the melanin, champ.
My bad. I was trying to get this filter off me.
That's not a filter. I'm trying to explain this situation to you. That's just that. Yeah. That's just that June, July, So
shout out to the UK. We just getting started. UK going to bed.
Now hold on before we get started.
So what we talking about tonight, man? Who's this white lady that's talking about racism?
Robin D'Angelo. Now, she did this in 2019, but I just got hip to it over the weekend. My guys from Philly sent it to me and was like, yo, you need to do a reaction to this. Now, mind you, I'm in my health bag. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I move around, but I'm heavy into my health bag because I was just telling the people before you jumped in, I had this goal of getting to 50 books before my birthday. You know what I'm saying? And I had thought I hit the 50 and realized it was 49.
Oh, shit. Yeah,
So,
now you gotta do 2 more. Now you gotta do 1
man,
more.
yeah, so I had to jump in my bag. So when they sent me this video, I'm like, but the content that I was consuming over in Hotepistan the last 5-6 days or so, I'm like, I gotta, you know what I'm saying? Because I was gonna do it Sunday. But that's why I was like, no, I gotta, you know what I'm saying? It's like Kyrie is good, you know what I'm saying? But Kyrie has to have, you know, you got to have a big man, you know what I'm saying? LeBron is good, but he's got to have a shooter. Like, you have to have the right partner to complement your skill sets. I was like, I would be doing a disservice to the people if I didn't get Hotep Jesus. I want to hear what Hotep Jesus reaction going to be to this shit.
Okay. I'm with it.
I almost, you know what? I should have tried to call Crip Jesus. Now that somebody mentioned it in the chat, I should have tried to call Crip Jesus, but Crip Jesus be wild sometimes.
I'm out in Jersey, so
this would have been the perfect situation to bring him in on.
I'm definitely Kyrie. You know what I mean? I'm out in Jersey right now, so I'm definitely Kyrie, so we can get it in.
Shout out to Kyrie's Bronx roots. You see how I just violated Jersey? My bad. I just violated Jersey. I just went straight to Rod Strickland, Patterson Projects. You know what I'm saying? Like I grew up over there. You know what I'm saying? So
Rod Strickland could hoop,
man, and you see it in Kyrie's game. Like, it's like he you can see the whole skill set. So we're gonna start. Yeah, I guess we just let it rip. But yeah, this is a very interesting.
Race and equity. So when they say equity, that's a psyop. Anytime they say equity, they don't mean equity. What they mean is a position of subservience, because equity means you get a piece of the company. That's what equity means. You are a part owner. But when they say equity, that's not what they mean. What they mean is you get to be they bitch. So I already know where this is headed.
Ladies and gentlemen, Hotep Jesus has entered the building.
I done broke down. I did a whole thing on DEI. I'm already ready for this. Oh, God.
Welcome, everyone. Many thanks to all who have made this event possible. We had a planning committee that was extremely helpful to our very small department of 3. Ayana Allen and Jackie Lorenza are buzzing around here to help make this happen. Yeah, do it.
Just skip the introduction.
I'm Darlene Flynn. I'm the director of the Department of Race and Equity, something that I forget to say.
I want to start with a quote by Ichiro Oluwo, who's local to Seattle, where I live.
I can't hear her.
Whenever we have professional development or any kind of education or courses on racism or race relations, we tend to study them. And we learn about this group and this group and this group and their struggles and their triumphs and what we need to know when we're working with this group or that group. But what we rarely ever ask is struggles in relation to whom, right? Triumphs in relation to whom or what? Who am I as I interact across this racial difference. So dominant culture or whiteness is consistently left off the table. And that, again, is only one road in, but it is the road I'm going to take tonight. And so I want to position myself in this right away. I am white. Check me out, everybody. And
Stop
part of
right
being
there.
white is drawing your attention to my race.
What's this lady's name?
Robin DiAngelo.
Dr. Robin DiAngelo. All right, continue.
Like I did just now, goes against all my socialization. I was not raised to think of myself in racial terms. I understood that somebody had race, but not really me. And if we're going to be talking about race, we'd be talking about their race, not mine. I wasn't raised to see my race as significant to anything you could know about me. So what if I'm white, right? Well, I'm really clear today, after a good 20 years of day in and day out talking to people about race, I'm really clear I'm white. I have a white frame of reference, I have a white worldview, and I move through the world with a white experience. And it is not just a universal human experience, as I was taught to believe. It is most particularly a white experience in a society that is deeply separate and unequal by race. So while I'm always coming from that position and that perspective, I just want to be explicit about it tonight. And when I say we and us, I'm talking to the vast majority of people in this room and in any room, and certainly any room that has a table where decisions are being made that affect the lives of people who are not at that table, right? So let me just say a little bit about what I hope will be valuable about this focus for the people of color here tonight. First of all, what I hope will be valuable is that I'm going to name and admit to things in my short period of time in front of you that white people will rarely ever name or admit to. And if you've ever scratched your head wondering, how do they pull this off? Can they really not see this? And why are they so resistant to seeing this? I will help you with that, because you have to navigate my reality on a daily basis in a way that I'm really sorry to say, I can be seen as qualified to lead virtually anything with no understanding whatsoever of your reality. And to be really honest, no interest in understanding that reality. And so I hope that that is useful to you with the gaslighting that happens so often. I also want to acknowledge that so much of what I can articulate today about what it means to be white rests on years and years of brilliant and patient mentorship from people of color. People of color have been saying what I'm going to say tonight for hundreds of years at this point. And unfortunately, one of the dynamics of implicit bias is if you are white, whether you're aware of it or not, you're a little more likely to be a little more open to hear it from me. And so if I can use this position in this way to break with white solidarity, I'm going to use it. Okay? And that invokes the master's tools dilemma, right? As I think that Darlene referred to, right? How do you challenge the master's house when you only have the tools of that house, when you're in the house? So I want to be really clear that I am aware that as I stand on this stage with credibility and authority granted to my voice on racism, no less, like virtually every other teacher or professor or role model or authority figure, I am reinforcing the centrality of whiteness. I want to name that. And trust me, I've gone home many a night and tossed and turned over that. Where I always land is that it is a both end, right? To not use this position in this way, for me, is to really be white. And I'd like to be a little less white. Right? And a little less white, by the way, does not mean a little more Italian American. Okay? It means a little less oppressive, quite frankly, a little less oblivious and arrogant and ignorant and certain, and a little more humble and curious and vulnerable. Right? The last thing that I want to acknowledge is that nothing.
So she suffers from savior complex. She feels as though Black people need her voice, and by her virtue signaling and talking about racism, she's doing something good, right? This is a savior complex. Only thing this bitch need to do is open up her wallet, cut a nigga a check. If She ain't cutting no checks. I don't want to hear shit she got to say. But let's go back. That's not her real name, by the way. Her name is not Robin D'Angelo. Her name is Robin Jeanne Taylor. She changed her name.
It ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun, you heard?
Why did she change her name? And how did you find that out? I
went to her wiki page.
Hmm.
She got a whole wiki page to tell about her.
I wonder who made that page, though.
Good question. Might be her team, or
I'm sure she might,
agency.
She might have some ops, though.
Also true.
Like Drake, you know, Drake doesn't. White folks have said Drake is too black. Black folks saying Drake is too white. So
yeah,
you get ops.
Yeah.
In society gives any of us good information about how this works. And so hopefully, again, as an insider, I can offer something to people of color. I do think people of color know about white fragility way more than I ever will. But again, I do have an insider.
Pause.
So
this
let
bitch
me
is
say
a
a little
colonizer.
bit about.
She just called us people of color. We are not people of color, nigga. You either call us African Americans or black. And this is where she hasn't done enough studies. So she's grouped us all in together with people who have a history of oppressing us worse than the white man. Groups of people who hate us more than white people do. So this lady needs a whole education on blackness. The fact that she grouped us all in together is just more reinforcement of her savior complex and a huge blind spot she has to society today.
Can you give us some of those groups?
Chinese, Japanese, Indian, Pakistani. If it ain't white, it doesn't like you. Hispanic. Now, does that mean all Hispanic people hate you? No. There's a lot of good people in all of these different cultures. When we talk about, especially we talk about the old guard, right? You talk about what grandma or your dad. These Indian people don't like interracial dating. The Hispanic people don't like no interracial dating. You can't bring no black man home. Your grandma cuss you out. Now, the new generation is a little bit more lenient, right? They're a little bit more accepting of this stuff, right? Because they've become more Americanized. But the old guard, no, they don't like black people. In India alone, India has a caste system based upon skin color. At the top is the very light, and that's called the Brahmins. So, when she talks about this whole concept of white fragility or whatever, she's going to have to delineate better than this.
Yeah, that's funny you say that, because my oldest daughter's grandparents experienced that, because her grandma is black like me, but her grandpa is Puerto Rican. And so, there was a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm.
About some of the challenges of trying to educate white people on racism. And a great example is I was recently going to give a similar talk to a large tech company, and before they would sign the contract, the legal department wanted to see my slides. And when they got to this slide, they actually asked me if I could take the word white off the slide. To which I replied, "You really should have vetted me before you called." No, I won't. All right. First of all, I've never met a white person who doesn't have an opinion on racism. Have you? If you are not sure all white people have an opinion on racism, just bring it up the next time you're around a bunch of white people. Maybe tonight when you have a drink in Noe Valley. Okay. I don't think you can grow up in this society or spend any significant time here or any other Western-oriented white settler colonial context and not develop an opinion on racism. That doesn't make it informed. So I'm going to say perhaps my first controversial thing. If you are white, I'm sure you have an opinion on the topic, and I don't know virtually anyone in this room. And yet I am confident to say the following. If you are white and you have not devoted years of sustained study, struggle, and focus on this topic, your opinions are necessarily limited, superficial, and uninformed.
I'd agree
Wow,
with
how
that.
can I say that when I don't even know you? I mean, maybe you've been to Costa Rica. Maybe you have multiracial nieces and nephews. Maybe you were in Teach for America. I can say it because nothing in dominant culture gives us the information we would need to have an informed opinion on arguably the most complex, nuanced social dilemma for the last several hundred years. For example, you can get through graduate school in this country without ever discussing racism, can you not? You can get through teacher education in this country without ever discussing racism. And if you're in a progressive teacher education program, you'll have one required course, multicultural of some sort. But that doesn't mean you'll be discussing racism. You might just be talking about how to introduce ethnic authors in February, okay?
So what I want to know, what I want to ask you, and I want to extend this to the chat, right? So I want this to be kind. I want people to be in. Is your number live?
What do you mean?
Like your live number? You can't use that on my page, can you?
Yeah.
So people, could people call in right now?
I don't think you'd be able to hear it though. I'd have to bring my desktop audio in, which would kill my audio.
Okay, so they can't do it. But y'all in the chat, right? Y'all in the chat. I want y'all to give y'all opinions on this so we can open up the discussion, because for me, everything is about application, right? Everything is about application. And I want to get people's opinions on how this applies today, because how this apply even 20 years ago, 30 years ago is going to be way different than what our children are going to see. Our children are going to see more, well, obviously more opportunity, but if and when those racial situations pop up, it's going to be more like Get Out. Like that's the first thing Chase said. He was like, Dad, you remember in Get Out? That girl was spending weeks and months and, building relationships with folks before she brung them. So you didn't know, you know what I'm saying? Like, so in today's, the way today is set up, it would be interesting, especially with having people from all over the place in the chat. You know what I'm saying? We spread out all over the place. So I want to hear, and if you watch this later on a replay, definitely leave it in the comments section. Leave all of your opinions. As opinions, emotions, feelings are all welcome tonight. Normally, keep your emotions in your pocket. Tonight, though, feel free to share as much emotions as you want to share. You know what I'm saying? Because you might go on a, there's going to be spots where you may feel like it's cap, and then there may be some spots where, like, you listen to Hotep Jesus already. He already had both, you know what I'm saying? He already went like, okay, she frauding. But then just now he was like, I don't know. I think I kind of agree with that. So you may have, it's racism. Racism is the most controversial subject there is.
I didn't like when she said, how
she
you can go through, she said you can go through grad school without discussing race. And that's a good thing. I'm not sending my kids to school to discuss race. If they want to, get a minor, or you want to discuss that in some of these other classes, then go right ahead. But the trick is with the Marxists, what they try to do is they try to make white people face this concept of racism. And many of these white people have nothing to do with racism. They've never been racist a day in their life. They've never perpetuated racism in their life. So it doesn't apply to them, right? So I don't think white people need to be trained on racism.
For the people that don't know, what is Marxism?
Marxism is socialism as perpetuated by Karl Marx. But Marxism right now is, when we use the term Marxism, we're talking about cultural Marxism. So how it starts to seep into your society via culture, the music, much of it comes through the intelligentsia, media, but a lot of it comes through the education system, the Rockefeller education system. That's where much of the culture is created, the culture of corporate America, the culture of politics, sexual liberation is another facet of this. But it's basically class delineation, right? This is the lower class, this is the upper class, this is the middle class. But modern Marxism doesn't operate based upon class anymore. They operate based upon race, and race is the new class. So they like to talk about race a lot.
Now, Marxism, almost the neural network I had for Marxism almost dried up and broke apart. And I don't even know what sparked the conversation. I know this was some years ago. Maybe this was way before the pandemic. So I want to say maybe 5 years or so. Maybe it was early pandemic. I had to be before the pandemic. But either way, I'm having a conversation with Architect. That's one of my brothers. And he pulled that out of his back pocket. We were talking about basketball. That's what it was. We was talking about the NBA. And I think somebody has something with China on their uniform. And so he was like, yeah, the Marxism, woo, woo, woo. I was like, whoa. We are going to keep the NBA politics free, champ. You're not getting ready to just run down on LeBron. But then I had to do the homework myself. You know what I'm saying? I had to do the homework myself and figure out who is Larry O'Brien. A lot of people watch basketball, and, I had to challenge people to that. I had to start asking people, if you don't think sports are political, who's Larry O'Brien? And unanimously, nobody knew what I was talking about. Only a handful of people that
I can't remember who that is. I can't remember. You got to jog my memory.
Most of the people that I asked that to, they didn't even know that the NBA. Are you a super NBA fan?
No.
Okay, well, that's why. So you absolved, right? But I'm asking basketball fanatics, like people that I argue and wrestle with, Jordan GOAT conversation,
yeah,
I'm in that bag. And they like, Larry O'Brien, what are you talking about? Like, what? I'm like, bro, that's literally the name of the championship trophy is the Larry O'Brien Award.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when I dig into Larry O'Brien, I find out that he's, socialist, social reform, Democrat, party leader, blah, blah, blah. I said, what the blood clot? Like, so I had to, kind of stand corrected. I'm listening to Architect. I bring them in for the politics. Those are my political guns. You know what I'm saying? Matter of fact, while we here, they're twin brothers, right? This is. I'm getting ready to show Ali, but Architect is his twin brother. These are my brothers.
Peace to the family. This is Abdul Ali, candidate for U.S. House District 12 here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Let's just be real, folks. The Democrats have destroyed our major cities. Their policies have made us less safe. They've given us less economic opportunity, and they've provided less educational opportunities for our children. And that's why I'm running for Congress, because I know what it takes to improve these issues. I've got great working relationships already in D.C. I've spent the last 10 years of my life building my political resume so that one of us, somebody who thinks like we do, could get into D.C. and make a difference. I want you to visit.
That's the algorithm.
So I had to figure out. I was like, okay, so you can literally, and that was a moment for me, and everybody may not receive it the same way, because like I said, unless you're into basketball like that, I'm from the Bronx. The biggie thing was real. Either you're slinging crack rock or you got a wicked jump shot. You know what I'm saying? So we all had in our mind that we were going to the league at some, until we, you had to snap out of it at some point. But you could be a lifelong fan, even fanatic, and not even, you haven't even peeled you don't even know what you're supporting. You don't even know you buying, you buying expensive game front row. You're trying to get as close to, you spending thousands of dollars on jerseys. I remember that was a thing for like 5 summers straight. You know what I'm saying? Basketball jersey, like even people that wasn't even interested in basketball, just to look fly, you had to have your jersey on with your little chain out. You know what I mean? Like, we spent bazillions of dollars supporting an initiative, and we didn't even know. We thought we was just, we thought it was just hoops. You thought we were just buying sneakers, buying shoes, you know what I'm saying, buying jerseys, and you had no idea, depending on how you view the Democrats and Republicans, but you may have been funding your own oppression that entire time. That whole time, you had no idea that Michael Jordan fought and won the Larry O'Brien Award 6 times. Kobe's fighting to win the Larry O'Brien, and then, and we're gonna go back to Shorty. I know this is I'm the segue master. This is a long ass segue, but it kicks in because it doesn't make sense to anybody. Like, it didn't make sense to me. And Caleb and Chase, even my older son, they all ask me, like, why are the NBA team owners called governors instead of owners? Like why are they called governors? Like, why? What is that? Are they actually governors? Like, what is that? Why are they called governors? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
Find out the Larry O'Brien and the Democrat and put everything in perspective. I'm like, oh my goodness, all this time sitting right there, plain sight, right in front of you. So, yeah.
You can get through law school. You can be seen as qualified to lead anything virtually, right? So the first challenge for those of us who are white is humility. I want you to know that I'm not standing in front of the choir right now. Even if you volunteered to come, there is no white choir. I am not the choir. And the moment I think I'm the choir, I'm going to be complacent and arrogant and probably defensive about any suggestion that I might not be as much of the choir as I think that I am. Second challenge is that if I do a good job, this won't be comfortable, particularly for the white people in the room, for the whole time. The status quo is racism. And as a white person, that's comfortable for me virtually 24/7. So I'm not here to uphold that. I want to unsettle that, because we will not get where we need to go from a place of white comfort. The key is what we do with those moments of discomfort if I manage to stimulate them. We can certainly use them as a way out. We can also ideally use them as a relatively rare way in. Why does this unsettle me? What would it mean if it were true? And there are 2 places where white people begin to get uncomfortable when I give a talk, whether you can consciously articulate it to yourself or not. The first place is how often I'm going to say the word white. So prepare yourself, about 100 times. And we're not used to being seen racially. Right? We're not used to having people proceed as if our race has meaning. And the second place where we can begin to get uncomfortable is that I am going to challenge the very precious ideology of individualism.
These people irritate me, bro.
Yo, your
White
reaction
people
was
aren't
priceless.
used to being seen as their race, and yeah, and y'all keep fucking bringing this shit up. Like, I'm not used to being seen for my race. That's some victim mindset that's been planted in black people's head by Hollywood and all that shit. Racism don't exist, bro. We gotta stop this shit, man.
How much money you want to bet this is a Democrat function?
I know it is. I know it is. This only white liberals talk like this.
This is a one.
If this shit don't end with, yo, we just invested in some new black tech that's actually good for the community, because they'll invest in black business that'll be bad for the black community. But if this shit don't end in, hey, you know, today we're raising money to give niggas some money, it's just fucking talk, yo. What are they gonna do with the proceeds from the tickets and all of this? Are they gonna put some homeless people up? They're gonna pay for somebody's child support payments. What are they gonna do with the money? Where's her check going?
No,
if she got so much guilt, if she's got so much white guilt, why didn't she have a black person take that spot on stage and do the talking?
Because she was on a media tour.
Exactly. For her new book.
And I'm going to do it by generalizing about white people all night long. And you're going to be just fine. Okay? It is a very precious ideology. In general, I'm talking about the white collective, we don't like to be generalized about. And so just so you know, if I thought it was racist to generalize about white people, I wouldn't do it, so you don't have to send that email. You can actually ask yourself, well, might I be missing something if I don't understand it, right? Rather than she must be doing that wrong, okay? Yes, we are individuals, of course, and I couldn't possibly hold everything.
Hold on. You know what's crazy? They looked at me like an alien when my kids was in elementary school. They had the parents weigh in on whether we wanted. Damn, I forgot what this course is called.
Critical race theory?
Bruh. Critical race theory.
Yeah.
When I tell you I lost my shit up there at that school. Yo, I was like, I'm sorry, what critical what? Critical race what? You know what year what? Well, we think it would be good if I was like, so let me ask you guys a question. These are children in here. A lot of these children, we already credit the Bronx. Everybody just credit them. In fact, send the Cash App to Minister $ Minister EnQi, just because I was born in 1977 in the Bronx at the same time as hip hop. And my father was one of those old school drug dealers that funded the block parties where the inception of it. Send me some Cash Apps just because I participated in the creation of the Equalizer, damn it. A lot of these people grew up in the hip hop culture, and you know, this Drake and Kendrick thing has kind of opened up this door, and people mad with me for being mad with Kendrick. I'm like, y'all are missing the point here. These people are when companies are finding people to fit roles, and even if this is not their personality, they'll tell you that they got a slot for this. So we need, you know, we've got too much gangster music. We need a conscious rapper right now. So J. Cole, we need you to, you know, Kendrick, we need you to fit this. So even though Kendrick Lamar is a Hebrew Israelite, he's going to call Drake a white man and a colonizer. Now, if you're not a Hebrew Israelite, feel free to have whatever opinion you want. Drake is half white, half black. You chop it up however you want to. But as a Hebrew Israelite, Kendrick Lamar has to do one of two things. He has to denounce his religion, or he has to accept Drake as a black man. Because as a Hebrew Israelite, their whole lineage goes by who's the father. The mother's race doesn't count. So since Drake's father's a black man, that means as a Hebrew Israelite, Kendrick has to see. So I'm saying this whole thing is a farce out the gate. You're not getting ready to introduce these ideas to kids. It's the same as introducing quote unquote gay sexual education.
Well, that's what comes with CRT. Because the CRT books include Grape, right? Essay. It includes those stories. And then it includes the homo stuff too. And it's very graphic, yeah. So they sneak it in through race.
Bro, when I tell you I lost my shit up there, I was like, yo, the number one thing y'all supposed to be doing is protecting these kids' innocence. That's the one thing that I thought was good. Was a few things that happened good about the pandemic. Because the pandemic put the brakes on that. School's over, everybody's homeschooled. School's over, everybody's homeschooled. And, you know, so we really have to be careful how we open up certain doors. You know, you want your children to be prepared for the world, but you don't want your children to be, let me speak on mine. I don't want my children to be led in any direction. Like the way I teach my children about sex, I prepare them and I tell them, you know, whatever you decide, when you decide it, I got your back. You know what I'm saying? My only thing is don't let somebody pressure you into doing something you don't want to do. When you're ready, you ready. You know what I'm saying? But outside that, we Gucci. You know what I'm saying? And exposure can confuse people. You know what I'm saying? Because nobody teaches brotherly love or sisterly love anymore. That's one of the reasons why it's good for people to have, you know, sororities and fraternities, because nobody's teaching brotherly love or sisterly love. Everything is gay. And so if you're a girl and you love one of your friends, you could be led into thinking that those feelings mean that you also want to be intimate. Correct. If you're a guy and you love your brother, your friend, your best friend, you could be misled into thinking that that means you should touch him or he should touch you. Like, no, it's okay to love your brother. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to, oh man, you look good in them. Yeah, them look good on you. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, we've become so, like, everything is so, and as much blowback as people get for being homophobic, there are so many personal incursions that you almost have to be a little homophobic to defend from all the. So you got to really try to, you know, like, I still, even though my babies are getting older, I still watch movies twice. I watched the movie first, you know what I'm saying? And then, okay, all right, yeah, we all right with this one. You know what I'm saying? Or, you know, you'll slip some, you know.
Oh, yeah.
The scene
they slipped it into the new Spider-Man. Oh, my God. They had the trans flag up there in that girl's room. Yeah, there's a lot of little hidden messages in that.
Yeah, it's a lot of, and, you know, as a parent, you got to decide how you want to introduce that subject matter to your babies. You got to introduce it to them, because the world's not getting any.
You got to frame it. You got to frame it before somebody else does. So I just let my kids know these are people with mental illness. They'll be all right. They just need a hug.
Every person's story in this room, even if I wanted to. We are also members of a social group. By virtue of our membership in this social group, We could literally predict whether you and your mother were going to survive your birth, regardless of your age. We can predict how long you're going to live because you're a member of this social group. There's a collective experience to being white. There are shared messages. We are all swimming in the same water, right? And just like gender, the way you respond to gender socialization, your challenges to gender socialization, you may have them, there's variations, but nobody can avoid dealing with gender socialization and responding to it. It is the same with racial socialization.
You see?
Right?
You see?
So every moment.
You see how quick they throw that gender
exempt
conversation in
yourself.
there? You see how quick they throw that gender conversation in there? We just brought that up. And just that quick, here she go.
Yeah.
Gender variations? Nah, nigga, it's two. Two motherfucking genders. Gender variations. So that's what they do. They talk about race, and all of a sudden, they talking about gender.
And we have to thank our folks for that.
Yeah, Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter was the gay gender. They the ones that ushered in all of this shit.
And they were funded and backed by the Democrats.
That's facts.
It's
so Rose, yep.
A lot of people that watch me, they get mad when I talk about the Democrats because they still got a soft spot for Democrats. Like, yeah, but what about the Republicans? We're not talking about the Republicans. We're just talking about the Democrats.
They got Stockholm syndrome. They can't let Massa go.
I'm going to tell you why I got a problem with the Democrats. I got a big problem with the Democrats, not necessarily because they were the pro-slavers and even with Biden with his crime bill and all this and all that. My real problem with them is the food pyramid. A lot of people don't really understand and how that whole presto changeo, even though Richard Nixon, so politics gets real crazy because some people switch sides, and you got some Republicans that roll with Democrats and Democrats that move around with Republicans. And so that's why there's polls, and people try to leave the Democrat and Republican titles out of it and just speak to mindsets, liberal mindsets versus conservative. That's why conservative doesn't always mean Republican, and liberal isn't always necessarily Democrat. So sometimes you got to take it out of that space. But yeah, that food pyramid, funny business.
Try this. All right, she's saying most white people X. I was a Y. Okay, good for you. Okay, you were Y. Most are X. How did Y set you up into the racial hierarchy you live in, swim in, grew up in, breathe in, right? It set you up differently than X set me up, but we both got set up. It's on you to use everything you see as unique about yourself and figure out how it set you up rather than exempted you. And finally, we don't tend to understand the systemic nature of racism. So let's just start there, and I'm going to do this the way that I always do this to explain the difference between personal prejudice that everybody has and systemic racism. So prejudice, prejudgment, everyone has it. There is no human objectivity. We get it from everywhere across our lifespans. Most of it is not conscious. I would highly suggest, and I think it's being sold out there, Dr. Jennifer Eberhard's new book, Biased, where she pulls together all the research, and the research is clear. All of us have prejudice. I'll use the term bias, and most of it is implicit or unconscious. Okay? And therefore, all of us act on it. The way you see the world drives the way you respond to the world. Right? So everybody has it, everybody does it. But when you back one group's collective racial bias with legal authority and institutional control, it is transformed into a far-reaching system that becomes the default. It becomes automatic. It's not dependent on your friendliness or your good intentions, right? So it gets embedded in all the institutions and also in cultural definitions of what's even normal, right? What is professionalism? What is intelligence? Whose stories are told by whom? Whose stories are not told, right? And I'm going to use an example from one form of oppression to launch us into the form.
You know, I had a debate with Lord Abba. You know who Lord Abba is?
Yeah.
Okay, so I had a debate with Lord Abba. One of the things that particularly irritated the Moors during that debate that I brung up, they were mad. Oh my God, you did him so. Why you didn't pick somebody else? He that was. Listen, that's your man. Get your man. Get your man. But I pull up the etymology on the word bay.
B-E-Y.
B-E-Y. And bay goes back to the word beg. And man, it goes back to the word beg. And literally in the etymology, it says to entreaty.
Damn. Shit.
So in a debate format, you know, you on a clock, so it's time, you know, you can't really go too crazy with it, but you know, there's a way that you can view this. You know, for some people, they'd be like, oh, you know, it's liberating, whatever the case may be. And maybe if you having like a 1920s experience, maybe, you know, but largely in today's world, you know, it's a different experience. You know what I'm saying? Especially like I'm listening to a lot of this commentary on the Kendrick and Drake battle. How many people is calling Drake a colonizer is, yo, it's hell. I can't believe. I'm like, how the fuck? I'm like, what kind of psyop? What kind of colonizer? Hold on. What kind of colonizer empowers you? I'm like, are you niggas forgetting that Kendrick is calling Drake the colonizer? But so if y'all don't know about the music, right? So here's the thing in music, right? You got to try to sell a label, at least back in the days anyway. You had to try to sell a major label to give you a deal, right? Now, once you sell a major label to give you a deal, typically that label will get an established artist sold on you, or maybe just because they want to bend their arm and, you know, yeah, do this for me, but they got to get a major artist to co-sign, back you, and then start you off with their audience. Your audience is going to start out. You're going to start out in somebody else's audience. So people are forgetting that Kendrick started out opening up for Drake. It wasn't Eminem that took him around. It wasn't 50 that took him around, because Dr. Dre didn't take him around. Drake took Kendrick on a world tour and introduced Kendrick to everybody. You know what I'm saying? Your colonizer doesn't empower you. That's literally like the definition of.
You know, I could debate you on this, right? I hate Drake with a passion.
You here for that?
Passion. And I was there when Drake came about. I know why he put niggas on stages. You know why he put niggas on stages?
Because he didn't have no other choice?
Because he wanted to colonize niggas.
I disagree. Because he could have just rocked out with the Cash Money clip, the Cash Money artists. They had a bunch of
He started off with Trey Songz.
Well, there's some videos out that look very suspect with him and Trey Songz. So I'm, as a Drake fan, I'm gonna It's some very zesty. So I'm gonna deny the existence of. Have you been watching the Young Thug court situation?
No.
I was about to say I'm about to get into my Judge Granville bag and just deny everything right now. That's the most corrupt judge in the history
Yeah.
of America, bro. That's and the craziest thing is we having this race conversation. If that was a white judge, like if this situation was flipped around, motherfuckers would be marching in the street right now. If Young Thug's lawyer was black and the prosecution was white and the judge was
white,
bro, this would have international, like they would be going crazy, like somebody like your man got the knee on, like the 8 minute. This would be a whole new Black Lives Matter, like they'd be out there marching in the street.
Well, that's why they put the black men in that position. They put all them black folks in them positions of power so they can get away with locking niggas up for no reason.
This is, I don't
because
think
the attorney said, I got transcripts of your conversation. The judge said, how'd you get them? He said, you wasn't supposed to have these conversations.
Yeah.
Then he wanted to lock him up for it. Nasty work.
Listen, the most corrupt, but the beauty is, see, and here's the beauty. The beauty is that it's being live streamed and then it's being recorded, commented on. You got lawyers launching podcasts off of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's big. That's big in LawTube. Yeah.
So, what you just say? LawTube?
Yeah, LawTube.
What is that?
That's what it's like all the attorneys and shit. They be, it's like the law section of Twitter. All the attorneys be grifting off of the cases. So when the case is up there, the LawTube will get to work.
Judge Granville need to get a grifty.
Facts.
He needs to get a grifty. But the beauty is, I think it's putting a spotlight, even if it's a black judge and black prosecution team up there right now, it's putting a spotlight. And whatever happens, is going to wind up being case law. And this shit going to be second only to Dred Scott. Like this is in time, this is going to go down as one of the most epic court trial. I didn't even like Young Thug music that much. I'm becoming a fan of Young Thug just by watching this case.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he's getting more fans from the case than he was getting in real life. And I spoke to his father in real time. I had a conversation with Young Thug's father where I got to ask him, you know what I'm saying? Courtesy of Clubhouse, of course. But I got to ask him, and mind you, he in Clubhouse answering all questions, and nobody asked well, maybe it wasn't the elephant in the room for everybody, but for me, it was the elephant in the room. I'm like, so the dresses. But he kept it thorough. He was like, yo, they paid him over $1 million to wear that dress. So, my son is all about the money. You know what I'm saying? He don't really. I was like, okay, straightforward, grand opening, grand closing. What's the response? What can you respond to that? You know what I'm saying? Like my father wouldn't, but. And he sounded like he approved of it. You know what I'm saying? And, you constantly have to look at all the sides to these different stories.
Yeah.
Because if the gangster, if the criminal, if the thug, if the strength, because typically, in the new age, your warrior class is the thug element. Right. But so if your warrior class is now
compromised,
wearing dresses, you know what I'm saying? And we saw what's homeboy from Griselda, Conway the Machine.
Mm-hmm.
He had a dress on.
What?
Yeah, Conway had a dress on.
No, he didn't.
Yeah, Conway had a dress on. Yo, and Conway is like the toughest nigga alive. Yeah. Yeah. Right now he's looking at Conway. That's literally that right there. That's yeah. That was my response. Because you know, my head be stuck in the books and the children. So I don't even like just like this like Robin. I don't unless somebody sends it to me and brings it to my attention, I don't, you know, I'm not hip. So me being from the Bronx, you know, I'm like, well, I forgot how the conversation was going that I was having where I got this picture, you know what I'm saying? But we was basically having a rap conversation. And I think it was about Kanye, because I'm a Kanye fan. You know what I'm saying? Kanye's went a little off the deep end a little bit, but I'm still a Kanye fan. And the person was like, yeah, well, Kanye started everybody wearing dresses and ASAP Rocky and, you know, da. All y'all New York up north niggas, whoop, what, whoop. I'm like, so hold up, whoa. You know, I'm confidently saying, we good. We still got Griselda. It was like, yeah, give me 1 second. Let me, have you seen this? I was like, Yeah, I was sick. You know what I'm saying?
Not Conway. Damn. Griselda?
I was like, Conway is the toughest nigga alive. I don't.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah. If they got him, it's looking ugly out here.
Listen, and like I've hit myself with the Will Smith memory stick. So before and after this conversation, I forgot that happened. Like I'm gonna forget. I'm gonna pull that out of like the Drake and Trey song. Yeah.
I'm torn up, Torian. I am torn up. I didn't. You know how I am. I'm extremely homophobic.
Well, I think that, you know, in today's society, you you have to have some portion of, if you're a straight man or straight woman, you know what I'm saying? You have to have some portion, you know, it's just like women have always been in the over sexualized space. So they've had to have some level of defensiveness just to command their respect wherever they are, you know, and the more voluptuous or the more, you know, the more attractive they are, the more they have to have that defensiveness to get you to pump your brakes before you get too crazy. You know, now that the doors are open, you know what I'm saying? It can get, you know, you can get a little crazy out there. So while we here, though, hold on. While we here, I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
What will you be doing on August 4th?
I'm gonna be in the islands.
August 4th? August
Yeah.
3rd?
Yeah.
What island? August.
Turks and Caicos?
Turks and Caicos?
Yeah. Vacation.
Well, when is the
What?
The conference?
October 3rd to the 5th. 6th.
That's where the conference is at?
Conference is in Miami.
Oh, October. Why did I say August? That's what I meant to say.
I accidentally said it yesterday that it was in August.
Okay,
that
that's
was a mistake.
Good. Oh, yeah, good. So we could blame. So I could blame you. Okay, good. Because I know somewhere I got in my mind that it was.
Yeah, I said it by accident yesterday. Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to segue to the conference. I was trying to
Hotep
throw you an alley oop on the fast break. I seen you on the fast. I tried to throw you an alley oop on the. Okay, yeah, there we go. So let's do that again. Look, everybody, ho. Everybody, pay close attention.
Hey, I'm gonna send you the link right here for the flyer. We just posted the flyer. for the event. It's right there.
Here, post it on, put it on your screen. Hit the share screen.
Oh, I can do it?
Yeah.
Oh shit. All right.
The bottom of your
Share screen.
Yep.
Share screen. This one. There you go right there. HotepCon Miami 2024, October 3rd to the 6th. Uncle Hotep Jesus. There it is. I didn't even know I could do that.
Yeah, wait a minute. How you took it down so fast? Put that thing back up there.
Hold on. Hold on.
I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start passing the hat around or something, but I want to get down there.
Here you go, right there.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure something out. I said this might be epic right here.
She's gonna be a nice little. It's like a family reunion. You know, it's our fans get to come out and hang with us. We're gonna do a show on the terrace. Then we're gonna do a little yacht party. It's gonna be dope.
Humility. That's humility right there. That's humility. But what that actually is, see, I could debate you on this, you know. I could debate you on this, you know. What that actually is a throwback. So before YouTube, consciousness was not online. There was no social media. I mean, there was MySpace, and before MySpace, there was what, Black Planet, and you know, so it was you know, some phone chat room thread stuff and all that. But consciousness was out in the streets. Consciousness was together. You know, the holistic community, like every aspect, all of the different groups, they had to come together. That's what it was about. You know what I'm saying? It was about, you know, you studied in little groups, maybe alone, or maybe you had your little study partners or whatever, but you got together. Consciousness was about community. You know what I'm saying? It was about people in real time, in real life. You know, your kids running around with my kids. You know what I'm saying? We find a restaurant to go blow up. You know what I'm saying? Everybody go in the restaurant and you know, 50 people, like, we get ready to shut this restaurant down. But consciousness was about community, coming together. You know what I'm saying? So if your platform was different, then I would agree with you. I would say, you know what? Yeah, you know, if maybe if LeBron and Anthony Davis threw some type of conference, I would say, okay, yeah, this is fans going to hang out with, you know, but this is not. This is more everybody getting to be able to be together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Eat together, laugh together, cry together.
Yeah.
People get to see, you know, who they've been being internet catfished by. Because even if you're not directly catfishing, all of you folks out there with fake icons,
fake personalities.
Yeah, I think it's like, you know, side catfishing still. We still don't know how you exactly look and blah, blah, blah. So a lot of my closest followers, you know, I've noticed over the years are the people that I've eaten with, whether it's been from me throwing stuff or some people bringing me out to do lectures or whatever the case may be. But that real-time interaction is priceless. You know what I'm saying? That real-time interaction is priceless. That's so, yeah, we definitely want to promote that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what everybody's budget look like. I don't even know what the prices and all that, but we definitely want to promote anytime people are getting offline to do the real thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I don't know what the price is going to be yet. I've got to work them out once I finalize all the details, but coming soon.
How could we get Melanin versus diabetes conference going in ATL. What I gotta do? That's a hell of a question. And you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna see what cheat codes I could get from Hotep Jesus. But I would say out the gate, you know, the main thing is just find a venue. Find a
Yeah.
venue so that we could speak in. That's the main thing. Like that's the main thing. Find a venue that we could speak in. There used to be, I haven't been to Atlanta in a minute, but there was a Hebrew Israelite restaurant down there on I think it's the West End, not too far from Tassili's. And they had a big spot in there. Or, you know, go contact Tassili's. You know what I'm saying? That's I like to work like that if possible. You know what I'm saying? Like the Hebrew Israelite restaurant, it's not a Hebrew Israelite restaurant. It's a restaurant that's owned and operated by Hebrew Israelites. I don't want y'all to think it's going to be crazy with people out there saying white devil. Like it's not that. You know what I'm saying? But it's a vegan/vegetarian restaurant. And, you know, it's owned and operated by Hebrew Israelites, if they still got it. Tassili's is still popping, but I don't know what Tassili's looks like. I know it's changed over the years, but she used to have a top floor, I believe, where you could do some speaking engagements. So, you know, go hit them up and see what their prices are, you know, to have a two-day event there. You know what I'm saying? And then yeah, that's pretty much it. That's the main thing. That's the main thing. You know, get the venue spot, and then yeah, we book it a few months out, and then folks will get their hotel rooms and you know, figure out the details. The rest is easier. Is that about right?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So that's a dope idea though. Shout out to King Don for even thinking of that. That's a vibe. King Don said we got to get the Melanin versus Diabetes conference going in Atlanta. Yo, I used to have. Nah, EnQi, you thinking small, fam. I know a lot of venues already. I need to know the real details. Make sure you get paid. That's secondary. That's secondary. That part is secondary. To make sure I get paid part. That's secondary. I know that should be like the first thing, but find the venue, right? Because the venue is going to determine everything else. You know, just from a math standpoint. Like I don't know what your budget is. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, if sky's the limit, just send me a limo up here and just fly us down in the helicopter and like. But realistically, if we're doing the numbers, you gotta get the venue first so that we have an idea of what the cost is. And then from the cost of the venue, you find out, okay, the venue, they want this amount. Well, how many people can the venue hold? Right. And then you get out there, okay, they got to hold 200 people. Okay, cool. What type of money are we going to need to put in the promo to fill the venue up? You know what I'm saying? And then you get an idea of prices, profits, and, how many vendors can we get down there to help, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, so figure out, just get the numbers in the air. Figure out, like, you go contact those venues and let them know what your idea is. You want to do a vegan health seminar and whatever. That'll be dope. Yeah, that'll be a vibe.
All right, let's get back to this white woman.
We're going to take a focused look on racism. But I'm going to draw from an example from the forum called Sexism. And relax, I'm going to use dominant language because I'm going to use this the way our textbooks teach us, right? So hang in there. Women got the right to vote in this country in 1920. There was only one possible way that women could get the right to vote, and that was for men to give it to us. Women couldn't vote on their right to vote. They couldn't even speak in many public forums to advocate for their right to vote. Could a woman be prejudiced against a man and mean to him in a one-on-one interaction? Of course. Could women as a group literally deny every single man in the society his civil rights? No. Could men deny every woman in the society her civil rights? Yes. And that is a significant difference that must be acknowledged in language, right? Right. So think about today. In 2019, I'm going to offer you a question. Today, if men as a group wanted to take away our right to vote, could they? Now, that's a little easier to see today than it was about 10 years ago when I first started asking this question. But I have been asking this question for many years because this is the best example of the difference between individual prejudice and institutional power, when yours is backed. And most people, when I offer that question, there's confusion, they're not so clear. Some people are sure that they could, some are not, which is also part of how oppression works. So let me just show you some basic statistics from 2019. The Fortune 500 CEOs are 98% male. The 10 richest Americans are all men. 7 of them are the richest people in the world. I think economic power is probably.
See how quick this shit turned back into gender?
The presidency.
Just that fast. Just that fast. It's turning to feminism. This is what I'm talking about.
Honestly, yeah, she keep it there. She keep it there. She keeps the she keeps the blend. Racism is genderism is sexism. You know what I'm saying? Like that's the constant. She keeps that, that. So I was waiting to see how, to see where you were going to go historically anyway with this concept. Because in a minute, and some of the things that she says, though, I do like, because in a minute she gets ready to break down how when women got their rights, women didn't get their rights. White women got their rights, black women, because Margaret Sanger came in and conditioned a lot of what popular thought is today. So this is a and I'm sure that now that people got the video, if you don't have the video, hold on, let me do this so you can watch this video at your leisure. Hopefully y'all see that on the screen. No, here you go. Right, so you can watch this at home with your family, your peeps, because we're probably not going to get through this whole video, right? But you can come back, watch this. This is the city of Oakland. It is in Oakland, California, right? And yeah, so you can go back and watch this at your leisure. I definitely did not sub to the channel.
And the vice presidency has always been 100% male. The Senate, keep in mind, we're celebrating the most diverse Senate Congress we've ever had. 75% male. House of Representatives, 70% male. The current cabinet, 84% male. U.S. mayors, 80% male. U.S. governors, 84% male. Federal judges, 87% male. Police officers, 85% male. So just ask you again, if they wanted to. I'm not saying they would. My point is, by definition, institutional power is deeply embedded in the fabric of society. It's embedded across history. These are not flexible systems. Heads up, we live in patriarchy. We live in an androcentric, male-dominated, patriarchal society. We always have, and it didn't end in 1920. And I'm very confident that if Hillary Clinton had become president, patriarchy wasn't going to end that day anymore. I mean, if the word patriarchy came out of her mouth. any more than we can see that racism did not end upon Obama's presidency. I would argue it got an infusion. All systems of oppression can allow for exceptions. The rule will be consistent, right?
So hold on. What's your take on the idea of this patriarchy conversation, and then separately Hillary Clinton?
Hillary Clinton's a witch. You can just ask the people of Haiti about that and see all the controversy with, Haiti. And
I'm Haitian, so you already know what I think about Hillary.
Yeah. The patriarchy conversation. The patriarchy conversation is mostly Eurocentric. This is a European way of thinking where everything is about the patriarchy. But when she talks about things like police and whatnot, those positions should be occupied by men. Women should not be occupying those positions for the most part. Women have a more important role in society. And the issue is they look at those roles as having roles of importance. And really the most important role in society is who's going to be the first person to the children's mind, who's going to raise the next generation. And women don't understand the importance of the role of nurturing your children and being able to cultivate what that next generation looks like. That is the most important role in all of humanity. And women, they've allowed feminists to downplay that and say, oh, I'm just raising kids. What about me? What about me? And I want to be a police officer and I want to be a politician. And meanwhile, all those positions are just positions for grifters.
So hold on, I got to ask you about this because there's going to be challenges. And being a health professional in the health space, I know for a fact there's going to be challenges that these children are going to face mentally and emotionally that we may not have had to necessarily face, at least not the exact same way. So you have a lot of plastic surgery going on. A lot of plastic surgery. And it's cool, I guess, to an extent when you augment, but some people are completely changing how they look, right? Just for vanity purposes. And then you have some people that are having natural, unnatural births. Meaning they're going to get a fertilized egg. The egg doesn't belong to the woman. The sperm doesn't belong to the man, but they have it surgically inserted into the woman and she carries the baby to term, and, they raise the baby as their baby. And, I'm predicting there's going to be fallout because children take pride in looking like, sounding like, walking like mom or dad. That's just a thing. That's just a natural, that's just a thing. And if you're adopted and it's just what it is, that's what it is. I'm a believer in adoption. You know what I'm saying? My dad was in the street. My mom got caught up in the street. Somebody took me in. You know what I'm saying? So I'm a fan of adoption. I'm pro adoption, right? But I think that it's a difference between getting someone's egg and someone else's sperm and having that cooked in a dish and then inserted in somebody, and they will basically pretend, and so that child will have multiple parents. That child, instead of having two parents, genetically will have three, because there will be some infusion of the carrying mother's genetics into the baby. So there's going to be children that will have three parents in the future. What do you think about these things?
Yeah, I agree. I haven't given much thought to the in vitro process. I know some women who are completely against it. My concern with adoption is when white folks adopt black kids. That bothers me.
What about if black folks adopt white kids?
That bothers me too.
Okay. See, I could say that I can deal with that's fair across the board. That's fair across the board. I can respect it. A lot of things, just because of what I do, have to come across, So with the IVF, there was a play, and see, here's where it gets crazy for me. If for some reason somebody is not able to carry a child and they really want to, that's a conversation. But there's a lot of people that just because they're financially able to, they're doing IVF because they want to have twins, or they want, their child to have blue eyes, or, like the brat and her woman, they wanted to have a white baby.
No, that's not what happened. The brat said they looked
Don't
at
try
all
to
the.
clean it up.
I'm telling you what she said.
Don't try to clean it up. There's no way you can clean that up.
And I'm not excusing it. All I'm saying is, what out her mouth was, we looked at all the donors and they were all ugly, and she didn't want to have an ugly baby. So she chose the white man.
Yeah. I think what I said was even less
Probably.
But, so that to me is where it gets crazy, when it becomes a matter of economics and preference, and because I can afford, I'm going to do, and I'm going to indulge in some of these. That's where, to me, it gets a little crazy.
Having a white baby is kind of crazy, especially being the brat. That did still shock me. You have a white baby?
Well, technically, the brat doesn't have a baby. Technically,
that's true.
There's none of her genes are involved there.
Yeah.
She doesn't have any genes. No, like you say, she doesn't have any skin in the game. Pun intended. She doesn't have any skin in the game, technically. You know what I'm saying? So that's even going to these are creating social dilemmas so I try to warn my like I said, you got to kind of prepare your babies out there, because they're going to be in a world that's going to have problems that we haven't faced. What happens to the gentlemen out there that have high school sweethearts that, they you want to marry a high school sweetheart, and later on you marry a high school sweetheart, you find out she can't get pregnant because she doesn't have the original equipment.
Right.
She's had a transformation in her puberty years, and she didn't disclose that because she doesn't need to, and so yeah, it's a new world. We have to have these conversations. I mean, they're all kind of uncomfortable for all parties involved. You know what I'm saying? Because on the one hand, you're going to have the LGBTQ folks saying, you know, it's our right to this and that and the other. But on the flip side, you're not thinking about the young man who also has his rights to get married and have a family and do his thing.
And Hotep is saying there are no same-sex babies. You cannot be a woman and have a baby, and a man and have a baby. And Hotep is saying that is outlawed.
Well, technically though, on the earth, you kind of can't do that either. You know, you can make agreements, but you can't actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
At least not yet, anyway. Like the brat, you know, genetically, and that just complicates things later on, because what happens when the child grows up, finds out y'all are not the parents? The child wants to go find the other parents, and then the other parents are okay. All right.
2019. And just in case you need a visual on my claim that we live in patriarchy, this is the House Freedom Caucus. This is arguably the most powerful committee in the nation. Talk about making decisions at the table that will affect the lives of people who are not at that table. They're literally discussing the healthcare bill when this picture was taken. Right? In case you need an image from popular culture, this is cover of Vanity Fair. This is a slide I made. I don't even know who it is. I just Googled white guy. And I got this, and I thought, oh, that's a good one. If you have young people in your life, and if you have kind of self-awareness yourself, you know that children are deeply shaped by films, by media, by imagery and marketing, right? The way that they think about the world and understand the world. And all of us pretty much have been deeply shaped by film. Those who write and direct film.
Okay, right there. Right at that moment, I had to take. So you a little bit more vicious than I am, and it might just because of what you do, right? And so your vantage point, your viewpoint, like I have a different vantage and viewpoint based on what I do. Right at this moment, though, I had to tell myself, she knows what she's doing. Up until this point in me watching the video, like, you just chopped her head off immediately. I didn't. When I'm watching the video, I'm like, oh, this is kind of, children, come in here. Right at that moment where she made that acknowledgement, that is the reason why when I went up to the children's school, I lost my shit when they came in with the critical race theory. And when you admit that you understand how susceptible children are to being exposed to these concepts, like, you're literally creating young white supremacists with this whole, oh, let's just teach them about how to. So listen, little white kids, technically in this world, you will be able to dominate these little colored ones. So, you know, try to be especially gentle with them and not dominate them. So, you know, and you colored ones, you know, I was like, this, we're not doing, let me know. I was like, let me know if I got to pull my babies out mid, you know, like, what we got to do here. Because this is not, I didn't sign up for this. And I'm a whole school parent. Like, when they got put in this school, elementary school they went to, I actually met the lady who was opening the school at a African conference, and they had a booth next to our booth. We had our little, you know, natural products and all that there, and they had a booth next door to ours. And I had my children with me as usual, you know, but I had them all reading and, you know, doing books and all that. So she was like, "Oh my God, who, what, when, how, why?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, they don't. Yeah, I'm the teacher. Yeah, you know." And at the time, I had just closed my actual school because I had a school in Detroit, and I was the teacher, the principal, the dean. Like, it's my school. You know what I'm saying? So she was like, "Oh, well, you know, we're opening up a school. You know, it's going to have a college level preparation curriculum and blah, 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 blah. And, you know, these would be the great, you know, these would be perfect children to kind of, you know, build around and whoop, whoop, whoop." And, you know, it was dope. Chase went up there, did his thing, valedictorian every year. And, you know, it was a vibe, but we had to shoot that down. And I think a lot of parents, I'm not going to say they didn't know what the people were talking about, but they presented the critical race theory in a way that it sounded really good. But, you know, I was kind of already hip to some of the other facets of it. And so when I came in with the hell no and then start elaborating, explaining to the parents all of the different facets of it, even the white folks was like, "Oh, hell no, 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 no." Because that's already either in these kids or not, based on what's going on at home. And so for the parents that have already cultivated a certain environment for their kids, this should be counterproductive. You're gonna fuck all these kids up. You're teaching subservience to the colored ones, and you're teaching colonizer behavior to the quote unquote white children. You know what I'm saying? Whatever that means, because if we get deeper into the woods, we have to figure out what white means. What is white? Who's white? Are the Jewish people white, or the Germans white, or the Puerto Ricans white, or the Spaniards white, or the English people are the only ones that are white? Because I know for a fact, coming from New York, that Irish people are not. Irish people still ain't got their white stamp fully yet. You know, like, so how, you know, how do we exactly, what does that mean? You know what I'm saying? Like, who exactly is white, and what's the perspective on that? Because like you said earlier, in India, they got the caste system over there. And technically, the people at the highest rung in that caste system would not be considered white in America. So it gets crazy. You know, and then courtesy of Noble Drew Ali, we now have the Moors. We have the Moors who are darker than me, but who are also
white
Americans as far as they're concerned.
That was always fascinating to me.
Man, I'm like, y'all do realize that Noble Drew Ali is from the 1800s. You niggas keep trying to. Yeah, niggas like, I'm like, are you guys? Y'all do understand? My man's from turn of the century. Like, y'all trying to bring them teachers into the 2000s, and it's cool to bring some of the, you know, the old school into the. But you do realize that he's got some of that's going to have to be, yeah.
Film are our cultural narrators, and they shape how we see ourselves and how we see ourselves in relation to other people. And of the 100 top grossing films of all time across the world disseminated from the US, 99 were directed by men. And 95 of them white.
Hold on, let me ask.
Institutional power is.
Stop this again. We got to go to the chat room. Chat, I want y'all to tell me in the chat room, who do you think shapes how a child sees themselves?
Definitely the mama.
You say the mama?
Mama.
I'll just say whichever parent spends the most time. In the
If they spend
traditional
equal
setting,
amount of time,
that's supposed to be mama, but you know, nowadays it's not always.
assuming we spend equal amount of time, right, which is technically not possible because of the amount of time a child spends with the mother after birth, a man can't compete with that. You can't compete with the fact that the baby suckles the mother for sustenance.
You can't compete with the 9 months in the stomach.
You can't compete with the 9 months in the stomach.
Yeah.
So
they hear that voice, and not even the voice. I have a couple of books that's just dedicated to the heart. But one book specifically called Music to My Ears is I trying to get people to understand the significance of the heartbeat. It's very important that your chest goes against the chest of people you love. Their heart needs to beat next to your heart. You need to listen to your children's heartbeats. Your children, you need to listen to your parents' heartbeats. You need to listen to your wife, your husband. Like you need to, heartbeat it's a whole nother universe. So every time it pops into my mind to remind folks, you need to, that is a whole thing right there. So that's the biggest thing. The baby is developing, listening to the sound of that heartbeat. That right there is like, yeah, that's a whole. But let's see what the chat room is saying. Traditionally, it's the mother. The man can. Household members, mostly the parents. Y'all two brothers got to start a weekly show. We locked in. We get ready to, we locked in. As a child, I say the mother, when you grow up, the father becomes more important. It varies. There are different types of that family love. Okay, well, see, that's what I was kind of looking for. And the reason why I say these answers is kind of what I was looking for is because nobody gave that power away to an external. Because what she's saying is that somehow white men are defining how young colored children are seeing themselves. Young black children, Mexican, whatever. And that's largely impossible if the parents are parenting. Yeah, if parents are parenting. Now, if parents are not parenting, then corporations step in, right? Because you do have a lot of parents that are not parenting. And in that case, you turn over your power, right? So if you're one of those people who, soon as you guys had a baby, as an infant, the baby is at the daycare, and then the baby's in daycare until they're old enough for school. And you guys come home from work 5, 6 o'clock, grab the baby from daycare, feed the baby goes to bed, and you kind of live that kind of program where you basically parent for maybe 2 hours a day. If you parent for 2 hours a day, and that's your 2 low quality hours, basically you feed the baby, and then, as the baby gets older, 10, 12, 15 years old, you yell at them, brush their teeth, do your homework, make sure they get something to eat. They go to their room, you go to your room because you just got off work and you're trying to still get your life and live and, do whatever it is you want to do, In those scenarios, yeah, You know, you're turning it over though. So it's not necessarily some white man that's going to control how your child sees themselves, but it's going to be whoever's in those seats, you know, wherever you enrolled them, whatever daycare it is, they're going to see the daycare person as mom, you know what I'm saying? Or the daycare person as dad, whoever's at, you know, they're going to form bonds with those people. And later on, you know, like all of these things have an effect. You know, who catches your baby when your baby comes out of that vagina? That's very important. The first set of eyes that baby sees when that baby comes out of that vagina as dad, was that your eyes, or did your baby look at the doctor first? Is the first human your baby seen someone else? And then what nationality, color, creed is that person, right? So that may influence how your child sees themselves, because the first actual human they saw, you know, if your child is black, if the first human they saw is white, that can be an impact, right? Or if your child is white and the first person they see, the doctor, is black, you know, you might want to be in attendance. You might want to make sure that's you right there. You know, you might want to make sure you are the first person they see. You might want to make whatever adjustments you need to make so that somebody can take care of the baby in real time. You know what I'm saying? Like my children don't know what it is to have a babysitter or go to a daycare or anything like that. Ever. They don't have those experiences. Because I learned with my older ones, like, you know, and I have children that have those experiences, but I learned to be, you know, to make more personal sacrifices if you want the babies, you know what I'm saying? Like, so I just don't think like how she's, anyway, I'm going off on a tangent, but I think the way she's wording this is somehow white men are determining how kids see themselves. I just like, what role are the parents? To me, that's just crazy. Like I just, you know, like how, yeah, where the hell are where the hell are the parents at? So I think there's a lot of assumptions that come with taking her at her word. You know what I'm saying? There are a lot of assumptions that must be made. You know, the city is raising these kids. These must be wards of the state. You know what I'm saying? The public school is determining who these kids are, what their personality is, and what they're taught and how they're spoke to. And the school is going to build or break their character, their personality, whether they believe in themselves or not. You know, all of that can take place and does take place. But from my perspective, that only takes place when home is not right.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Because even in the street, you know, a lot of times, you know, the gang, you know, the guys on the block, they offer you the love you missing at home. You know what I'm saying? Because they're gonna have your back regardless. You know what I'm saying? If you got that at home, you're a lot less likely to end up in certain situations. So I just think the home thing is, and I don't hear that in her conversation. I don't hear that coming across in this. So I'd be out of pocket if you know if I didn't add that into
The ability to disseminate your worldview to everyone and to shape how they see themselves, how they see you, how they see themselves in relationship to you. To tell the story of the other when you are not in relationship with the other, when you don't know the other. To be able to represent the other and to do it and position yourself as simply telling universal human stories, not from any particular position. So that Mike Lee is a film director who makes films about the human condition, and Spike Lee is a Black film director who makes films about Black issues. So Facebook puts these things out on holidays. This one came out to commemorate the anniversary of women gaining suffrage. And then some folks did this. Which women got access to the vote in 1920? Yeah, white women. So another dimension of institutional power is that your group's experience is held up as universal. So while we were oppressed as women, we were certainly privileged as white. There is no more universal woman's experience than there is a universal human experience on the physical plane where we live in the here and now. Right? And that recognition, I'm sure many of you know, was termed by Dr. Kimberly Crenshaw, intersectionality. Right? All right, so legal authority and institutional control is what transforms people's prejudice into a far-reaching system. So let's look at race in 2019, right? So the presidency and vice presidency, 100% white. The US Senate, 91% white. I just have to point out again, the most diverse Congress we've ever had. The House of Representatives, 73% white. The current cabinet, 89% white. The governors, 98% white. Mayors, 88% white. Military advisors, just think about who we go to war with. 100% white. Federal judges, 88% white. Police officers, 80% white. The people who decide which TV shows we see, 93% white. The people who decide which books we read, 90% white. People who decide which news is covered, 85% white. People who decide which music is produced, 95% white. School teachers, 82% white. Full-time college professors, 84% white. Owners of men's pro football teams, 97% white. Owners of men's pro basketball teams, 98% white. The players, 75% black. Right? And yet, what is the definition of a racist, of what it means to be racist in the mainstream? Right? Well, it's an individual, always an individual, not a system, who consciously does not like people based on race. Apparently, if it's not conscious, it doesn't count. And is intentionally mean to them. It also has to be intentional to count. Individual, conscious, malintent across race. That is a racist. And I don't know that you could come up with a better definition to protect the system of racism than this one. Because this definition makes it virtually impossible to talk to the average white person about the inevitable absorption of a racist worldview that we get from living in a culture in which it is infused and embedded across all its institutions. Right? I think that this definition is the root of virtually all white defensiveness on this topic. Have you guys noticed any white defensiveness on this topic? Because if that's my definition of a racist, and you've just suggested I've said or done something racist, much less that I benefit from racist just by being white, what I'm going to hear is you just question my very moral character. And now I need to defend my moral character. Right?
Mods, please please allow everybody to vent their frustrations, emotions, their disagreements or agreements with the content. You know what I'm saying? Unless they saying something that ain't got nothing to do with the show, let them say what they got to say, because it's important that we hear everybody on this topic. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if you notice, me and Hotep haven't agreed totally on everything. You know what I'm saying? He out here trying to attack Drake and all that. You know what I'm saying? Oh shit.
And I will. Right? So racism is a system, not an event. It certainly occurs in specific moments that we can identify, but of course it's 365, 24/7. It's the system we're in. And part of being raised as a white person in this society has been to be raised to be what I think of as functionally illiterate on this topic. I had opinions, I spouted them freely. I cringe today when I think about that. And part of gaining literacy, and of course that is a lifelong process I will not be finished with. Part of gaining literacy has been to understand the kind of collective dimensions of racism, but also how different groups of color get set up differently. So what's in my head about indigenous peoples is different than what's in my head about Asian heritage people, and that's different than what's in there about African heritage people. I have different levels of comfort and anxiety and interest, etc. And therefore, those groups have different experiences. Okay? And it's very important that we break that down and that we learn those histories and those struggles and those stereotypes and those experiences. So I want to be really clear. All peoples who are not perceived or defined as white experience racism. And they experience it in shared ways, and they experience it in ways that are different depending on their group and its position to whiteness. Having said that, after 20 years of doing this work, I feel very clear about the following. There is something profoundly anti-Black in this culture. And in the white mind, Black people are the ultimate.
Yo, did you catch that? Somebody tried to start the opening clap and nobody co-signed it.
Oh shit. Where was the standing ovation? Where was the ovation? You know that was a Black person clapping too.
Facts. And you know they look mad embarrassed around the room when nobody, because the room is mixed. Nobody co-signed that.
Wow.
Anti-Black in this culture. And in the white mind, Black people are the ultimate racial other. We have the most energy about Black people. We have the most resentment and anxiety about Black people. And when I have a very short period of time with white people, and I want you to get in touch with your early messages, I ask you to think about Black people, right? And anti-Blackness, there are poles, right? White is here and Black is here. And I don't have time to get into it, but there is no white without Black. There's a deep need for white, the white collective. There is no superiority without inferiority, right? So there are poles. And anti-Blackness cuts across all groups, including Black people. The darker you are, the more compounded the oppression. And while I'm here to challenge white people in our complacency, there's a very sensitive couple questions I think peoples of color have to ask themselves. One, what does anti-Blackness look like in our group? And who have I aligned with? Right? So having mentioned history, anti-Blackness, it's a system. I want to just give you one glance at the trajectory of anti-Blackness since the beginning of this country to the current time to illustrate those points. And this slide will be deliberately dense, and we can think about it as state-sanctioned organized crime, quite frankly, against African Americans. And it begins with kidnapping and 300 plus years of enslavement, torture, rape, and brutality, and it carries on. About 1/4 of the way in here, bans on testifying against whites, and you are in my lifetime. 1/4 of the way in that slide, you were in my lifetime where it was technically legal to murder Black people in this country. I would love to never again hear another white person say I didn't own slaves, as if that ended on that day. And about halfway in at employment discrimination, you are now in 2019 with copious empirical evidence. And if you don't know some of these things, that's on you to educate yourself. But I'm going to pick it up in 2019, and let me repeat, copious empirical evidence. Employment discrimination, educational discrimination, bias laws in policing, white flight, subprime mortgages, mass incarceration, school to prison pipeline, disproportionate special education referrals and punishments, testing, tracking, school funding, biased media, voter suppression, cultural mockery, historical omissions, unaddressed trauma, to name a few. It's a system. It's the system we're in, and none of us could be and none of us were exempt from its forces. And this system is not interrupted by friendliness. The system is not interrupted because I smile at Black people when I pass them by or go to lunch on occasion. And African Americans are not and have never been in the position to do this to the entire white collective, and the white collective has always been and continues to be in the position to do this to African Americans. There is no such thing as reverse racism. Okay? It's a system. All right, now, I know I'm going to need to update this picture pretty soon here, but I can't let go of it yet because when I saw it, you can just take a wild guess how I feel about Paul Ryan, but that's not why I picked it. When I saw this picture, I just said, this is what it means to be white. These are his incoming interns. These are our future politicians. These are the people who will sit at the tables making decisions about the lives of those who are not at the table and who they have not been taught are valuable to know or consider or understand. I want you to imagine the neighborhoods they likely grew up in, right? The schools they likely went to, the teachers they likely had, the friendship circles, their wedding albums. And now imagine that these are our future medical researchers.
Peace to the family. This is Abdul Ali, candidate for U.S. House District 12 here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Let's just be real, folks. The Democrats have destroyed our major cities. Their policies have made us less safe, they've given us less economic opportunity, and they've provided less educational opportunities for our children. And that's why I'm running for Congress, because I know what it takes to improve these issues. I've got great working relationships already in D.C. I've spent the last 10 years of my life building my political resume so that one of us, somebody who thinks like we do, could get into D.C. and make a difference. I want you to visit aliforcongress.com to find out more about my campaign. The Democrats have already done enough, and now they're putting illegal aliens in front of people like you and me, folks whose ancestors built this country and made it what it is today. So again, I'm asking you to support me in my run for U.S. House District 12 here in North Carolina. You don't have to live in North Carolina to support, because what happens in Congress affects the entire country.
That's the algorithm.
You said you had somebody you were supporting?
Royce White, senator out in Minnesota. He plays in Ice Cube's Big Three, going against incumbent Amy Klobuchar. So it's got a bit of an uphill race, but that's who I support.
Now, so let me ask you this, because you know we got our.
She was cooking, by the way.
Yeah. Oh no, we're going back. We're going back.
She was cooking though.
Yeah, that's why I didn't stop. But I wanted to get, because I know we kind of have some conversation off the scene that I think the public would be privy to. I mean, it would be good if the public was privy to. What are your thoughts on participating in politics?
For who? Me as an individual or as a group?
Like right now, you participating because you supporting your guy.
Yeah, I think it comes down to what effect you'll have if you get into that position. You know, do I think that someone can be effective and be a voice on the floor? You know, that's really what I'm concerned with. I think Royce White is one of those people who, you know, he's very much like me. He says those things that'll get you canceled. He's not afraid to speak up. And he seems like somebody that would be a disruptor. And I like disruptors, right? Like a righteous disruptor, and he's a disruptor. So I haven't endorsed any candidates really ever. But he's probably like the first one I'm like fully like endorsing. But mostly because I think I think he could be a disruptor on the Senate floor.
And you know, I'm gonna go back to Robin and bring it back so she could hopefully catch a little momentum she had there. But I just want to constantly remind people that hearing, seeing, acknowledging problems without engaging, like it's useless, it's futile. You know what I'm saying? Like you need to be fighting, right? So listening to her completely elucidate these are the white folks that are going to, and this is the, hold on, we we throwing our hat in the ring, and like that's pretty much what needs to happen, is that because those are interns. So the same way we're talking about parenting in the household, right? There's a political conversation in the household. The parents are politically engaged, so they're having political conversations with the children. So now when the children are young adults, they're not telling the children, oh, don't, it makes no, don't no, position yourself, get in the game. Matter of fact, let me introduce you to Uncle such and such who works at the, let me plug you into, oh no, I got somebody down at my job, or this girl I went to school, yeah, I know somebody who, let me plug you in over here and you can, yeah. Because what people don't know is a lot of these local elections, these people are winning. Listen, I literally can't say this enough. People are winning elections with less votes than I get on my YouTube videos.
That's correct.
People are getting into public office with 300 voters.
Yep.
500 votes. Like, this is not this thing that y'all, like, it's not, this is not like an uncrackable force field that you can't. People with small YouTube channels, people's with, like, you post a picture of your baby dancing with their diaper falling down. You got, like, this is not, because at home, I think that people think that you need millions of people to win an election, especially the local level. And that's not the case. Nobody votes.
Nobody votes. Exactly. So that means you got to win the voters.
There are people that live there. There are kids that sell candy. There are girls that do Girl Scout cookies that, like, is a bigger turnout than these. Like, it's not that difficult. It's just people aren't having these conversations. They don't see the value in these conversations. So if the parents, the person at home doesn't see the value, the children won't see the value until it's too late. And you will be subject to the decisions that come out of the decision makers. So, anyway.
It's a system. All right, now, I know I'm going to need to update this picture pretty soon here, but I can't let go of it yet because when I saw it, I mean, you can just take a wild guess how I feel about Paul Ryan, but that's not why I picked it. When I saw this picture, I just said, this is what it means to be white. These are his incoming interns. These are our future politicians. These are the people who will sit at the tables making decisions about the lives of those who are not at the table and who they have not been taught are valuable to know or consider or understand. I want you to imagine the neighborhoods they likely grew up in, right? The schools they likely went to, the teachers they likely had, the friendship circles, their wedding albums. And now imagine that these are our future medical researchers. These are our future school teachers. These are our future social workers, right? Our future lawyers, etc. Right? And this is the position from which white people claim we're objective on race. Now, just get that image back in your mind of that history slide, and then just look at this. This is last year's college champion Jeopardy playoffs. So those are our best and our brightest, soon to be certified as highly educated from our institutions of higher learning. And that's the board at the end of the grand champion round. So as we can see, there was one category, not one of them touched. Clearly the most difficult. Nobody was going to risk losing the grand championship. you know, it's just one picture. I think it speaks volumes. And I don't feel that I can do justice to what it means that we don't know our history, that we could ever separate it out and see it as their history, not the history of this country. Because when we don't know our history and we cannot trace it into the present, we are left with deeply problematic explanations for current conditions, victim blaming explanations. So I want to walk you through some questions. I'm going to ask you, you can close your eyes, you can look down at the ground. I just want to, in your mind, I want you to notice what images and what narratives come up for you, right? And I would like you to answer these questions from your childhood self, your younger self, not your sophisticated adult self, maybe 10, 11, 12. What do you see? Kind of how would you explain it? So how racially diverse was your neighborhood growing up? If your neighborhood was not racially diverse, why wasn't it? Where did people of different races than you live? If they didn't live in your neighborhood, where did they live? And what was it like where people of different races than yourself lived? And how did you know? What images come to your mind when you think about the spaces where they were? And why didn't you live in the same neighborhood? Why don't we live in the same neighborhood? Were you encouraged to visit the neighborhoods where people that were of a different race than you lived and get to know the people there, build relationships with them? Or were you discouraged from doing that? And if so, how? How was that conveyed to you? What were the characteristics of a good school? What makes a school good? What are the characteristics of a bad school? What makes a school bad? What's it like at a bad school? What images do you get? Did your parents care about what kind of school you went to? Did they have any energy about that? And if so, why? Were the honors or advanced placement classes and the lower track classes equally racially integrated? And if not, why not? How often have you had a teacher or professor of your own race, or races if you're multiracial? How often have you been to a wedding that was either all or virtually all white? If we opened your wedding album, if you're married, what would we notice? How often have you been to a funeral that was virtually all white or all white? And what are some of the ways in which your race has shaped your life? So I asked these questions to get to the earlier messaging. I have a pretty good idea of the patterns of that rose up as you thought about them. And yet when you put all this together, right, our socialization into deep racist bias, our definition of a racist as a mean, bad person, you get some rather superficial white narratives. So I want to be really clear about something. As a result of being raised in this society, I have a racist worldview. I have racist biases. I have racist patterns that have developed as a result of that. And I also have investments in the system of racism. It's quite comfortable, and it has helped me overcome the barriers that I have faced. For example, in my early childhood, I did go to diverse schools because I grew up in poverty. But as I moved upwardly mobile, it got whiter and whiter. And nobody ever encouraged me to maintain those relationships across race, right? So being white has definitely helped me navigate the barriers I faced. And I also have an investment in not seeing anything I just named, which is why I'm the least likely to be able to determine how well I'm doing. I did not choose to be socialized into a racist worldview, racist patterns, and racist investments. I didn't have the choice. And it's actually incredibly liberating to start from the premise that, of course, I was socialized into it. And so I can stop defending, deflecting, denying. I don't struggle with guilt about that, right? I feel responsible for that socialization, right? So starting from that premise actually is liberating because I can just get to work trying to identify what it's looking like in my life, in my relationships, and in my work. Right? But not starting from that premise leads us to say some rather superficial things. So Darlene acknowledged that my area of scholarship is in critical discourse analysis, and that is the critical examination of language. That words and terms are not just neutral descriptors for something, that the language that we have shapes how we view that thing, which is why language is always political and always a site of struggle. And as I listen to the things that white people say when the topic of racism comes up, I literally got this image in my mind of a dock. And it signifies two things. One, how superficial this is, what we say. But also, if you look at the dock from up above, it looks like it's just floating on the water, right? But it's not just floating on the water. It's resting on an entire structure that's submerged underneath that props it up. And everything I do in my work is to try to get us off the top and get under there and look at that structure, because despite what's on the top, our outcomes are not changing, right? And so I kind of think of them in two sets, colorblind and color celebrate. Probably the number one of the colorblind is I was taught to treat everyone the same. Anybody ever heard that one? Some version of I was taught to treat everyone the same? Okay, you ready? Not one single person in this room was taught to treat everyone the same. You weren't, you don't, you couldn't, and you couldn't be taught to do it. You could be told to do it. I could lecture you to do it. You don't do it. You can't do it. You don't even want to do it because people have different needs. So when I hear this from a white person, there is a bubble over my head. It's got a couple things in it. One, oh, this person doesn't understand basic socialization. This person doesn't understand culture. God, this person is not self-aware. And I just need to give a heads up to the people, to the white people in the room. And I'm going to look at Darlene, because Darlene will call me if I miss it here. To the white people in the room, when people of color hear us say that, they're generally not thinking, all right, I'm talking to a woke white person right now. No? All right, I got that? All right. Usually some version of eye rolling is going on and a wall is going up. Aaron Trent Johnson.
Woke white person, woke black person, bring us in the Hotepistan and explain to us your perspective on woke.
Marxism. If you can define Marxism, you can define wokeism. But it also so the way Marxism works is it's a parasite, and everybody knows parasites need a host. So the host for Marxism is usually a minority group, a struggling class, an oppressed class of people. So they attach themselves to this oppressed class. If they can be oppressed themselves, they'll do that. So through Kimberly Crenshaw's work, intersectionality, critical race theory, all of that stuff, you can be handicapped, blue hair, fat, gay. All these people can claim to be victims of oppression. And that is woke. When you find any reason to become a victim, that's why I said there's a woke right now, because now they're going around talking about, woe is me, I'm being attacked for being a white man. And I'm like, you're just woke, right? So that's what woke is now. Woke used to be, had your third eye open. You were privy to some of the things going on in our society, and you were distrustful of government.
Before it went commercial, before it went pop.
Before the Democrats took it, yeah. Yeah. But
So,
she cooking right now. There's nothing she's saying right now that I want to say should not be said, or I disagree.
I like the fact that she's saying these things too.
I'm not impressed by that. I gotta be honest with you.
Well, a lot of these things, sometimes you do need to hear. We've been saying a lot of these things for a long time, so it's good to hear, the sentiment being echoed in some different rooms.
Yeah. My thing is, it's not going to change anybody's life. Right? Like, you got an individual in the chat. So if we look at, some people say she cooking, some people say otherwise. This type of rhetoric doesn't change people's minds, right? This only works for people who have no opinion. But for the people that have an opinion, this lecture is not going to change your mind about anything. Atomic Reflection in the chat, he doesn't want to hear what she's got to say. And really, the people that don't want to hear what she has to say, that's really who this should be designed for. They're like, those are the people that need to take this class. Right? They need to sit down and they need to hear this. But it's not going to change their opinion, because they've already made up their mind that they don't want to hear about anything that happened to Black people, because they're sick of it. They're sick of hearing about it, which comes back to my first point, where they know this. They know this information. These white people know this information. They've been beaten over the head with this information about black people being oppressed or whatnot. So it's not like she's saying anything new that they don't know. The only question is, do you give a fuck? And most white people don't.
And the ones that do already do.
And the ones that do already do, correct.
Yeah.
But also, those are people who come from a more diverse area, right? They've been in close proximity with Black people. Some people have never been around Black people, so they don't understand Black people. Some Black people never been around white people, so they don't understand white people. So, if you have white guys and they play basketball, chances are they are going to be cool with Black guys because they play basketball. If they were fans of hip hop, they're going to be cool with Black people. They're going to understand these words and it'll resonate with them. White guys who play lacrosse and golf and shit like that, they're not going to give a fuck about this shit, because why should they?
On the same token, you got Black folks that play golf and lacrosse and shit that don't give a fuck about it.
Also true. Yeah.
So a lot of this, there's a lot of bleed in between what could be perceived as overt racism, which may have to do with economics and education and proximity.
Yes, it's a class thing.
As a Black woman, I often co-lead with, and she says, when I hear that from a white person, what I'm thinking is, this is a dangerous white person. This is a white person who's going to need to deny my reality. It's just not doing what we think it's doing, right? So that's the colorblind. Now we got the color celebrate. Oh, I work in a very diverse environment. I think that one's popular in Oakland. I have people of color in my family. Me, I'm not racist. I live in Oakland. Okay? That one gets used interchangeably with I'm not racist, I'm from Canada. I'm not racist, I'm from Germany. I'm not racist, I was in the military. Okay? Sociologists actually have a term for this one. It's called the inoculation case. I've been near people of color, it stripped me of all my racism. I'm always like, wow, you walk by people of color, you didn't lose your shit. Okay, that's amazing. All right. I want you to notice how often white people invoke proximity as their evidence of a lack of racism. And this is important to notice because it helps reveal what we think racism is, right? It helps reveal what's under the dot. What do I think racism is that proximity would show that I don't have it, okay? So these last three, how many of you in a conversation with a white person have heard some version of those last three? Okay, and if we're being honest, we've said some version of these, right? So let's do the discourse analysis on these. When a white person invokes one of these narratives, when racism comes up, they're giving you their evidence, right? This is white people's evidence. In my mind, what is this my evidence of? What do I want to make sure you know? I'm not racist, right? This is not even a stretch, is it? This is what white people say to establish their lack of racism, correct? Okay, so if this is my evidence that I'm not racist, then in order to be good evidence, it has to distinguish me from a racist, right? So a racist apparently can't do those things, or else that would not be good evidence. So a racist can't work 3 cubicles down from a person of color. Couldn't have people call their family, and apparently there's living in Oakland frees the white folks from racism, right? No racists in Oakland. All right. So a racist can't tolerate proximity based on this evidence, right? Are you starting to see how thin that is? Because even an avowed racist can tolerate proximity. I owned my racist conditioning earlier. I don't see myself as an avowed racist. An avowed racist is someone who embraces that conditioning. I seek to challenge that conditioning. But even avowed racists can interact and have proximity across race. Here's an example. So the black man is Gary Young. He's a reporter for The Guardian. And he is interviewing white nationalist Richard Spencer, the white man, right? Richard Spencer is what I would call an avowed racist. He organized the march in Charlottesville. Now look at the body language. Completely relaxed. Richard Spencer's not freaking out. He's having a calm conversation with Gary Young. Richard Spencer might go home and have, nieces and nephews of color in his family, right? Here he is at the march. Right. Children are so much more open. Of all the things I say, this is probably about the hardest, what I'm about to say. The research is very clear that by age 3 to 4, all children who grow up here understand it's better to be white. No child misses the message. And it's not a singular, isolated message. It's not dependent on some mean person. That message circulates 24/7. And they know it and they absorb it. And when we project this racial innocence on them, we leave them unattended to it. They can't resist it. So Frozen for me is a great example for the younger and for the teen years. This is last year's top 5 runners-up for Miss Teen USA. No little girl misses the message. And yes, they are 5 different girls. You have to concentrate really hard. But when you give up, just go over here and look at the sides. You can see the states. Okay. Okay. I mean, just take it in Miss Teen USA. This is the group that they were drawn from, right? But is that not how it always is? There'll be one, maybe two to the back or to the side, right? And because I know my people, I am confident that for all these white girls, that one black girl is their evidence for why they're not racist. Everybody loved her. Nobody had a problem with her. Now you get that young woman alone in a room with someone she trusts and debrief her. I can't imagine what that experience was like for her. But I want to move these white girls way past were you or weren't you friendly to the black girl. If you were friendly to the black girl, you're free of all racism. I want to move them to a really different place, which is what's going on here? How does it keep getting reproduced? How have you been shaped by it? And what role will you play going forward to reproduce it yourself if you can't see it or understand it? It's just a very different question. I was in the Peace Corps. I'm going to teach for America. I'm a minority myself. I marched in the 60s. I was on a mission in Africa. I've been doing this for years. So I'm going to ask another set of rhetorical questions. These are the white progressives, evidence to my dear friend Darlene. Darlene, could a racist work 3 cubicles down from you? Even one who doesn't think they're racist? Even one on the equity team? All right, folks on equity teams. All right, I'm all for equity teams, or whatever you call them, D&E, I&E, E&D, anything but racial equity teams. You don't want to scare the white people, so don't put race in there. But I'm all for equity teams. But I also need to say that some of the most gatekeeping, obstructionist white people are on equity teams and in equity work. Right?
Oh, shit.
And I have been in many equity teams where most of our energy was spent strategizing how to get around another white person on the equity team. So I just want to be clear that, of course, there are some very constructive people white people in those teams. The key is it doesn't certify you. Nothing certifies you. It's the complacency and the arrogance, right? Which, of course, sets up defensiveness. Right?
She's saying more than I expected her to say. She's spilling the beans. She said, nah, the DEI shit some bullshit too. Wow. This lady's all right so far. You muted. I can't hear you.
This is why I was saying, she, I appreciate the fact that she's saying some of the things that she's saying. Because it does hit different, not to us. I don't think it hits different to us because however everybody views things based on their experiences. How dark you are, how light you are, where did you grow up? What opportunities have you had? What opportunities have you been denied? What you've seen growing up? So, and in the conscious space, forget about it. We didn't heard, but a lot of people don't understand the fact that in America, we only make up, depending on the year, 12, 13, I think 1 or 2 times we were 14% of the population. So because we're densely packed into urban communities, we think that we're densely packed all across America. And that's not the case. You know what I'm saying? So there are a lot of Black folks that they never have experiences around white folks, and forget about it. A lot of white folks, the only way they can formulate an idea about Black folks is with the remote control on TV. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of white folks that think the Black experience is one of the characters on Power. You know, that's an authentic, oh, so they're Tyreek, you know, or maybe they're Ghost. So, you know, and now that the show seems to be centered around Tyreek, you know, that's the Black experience. The Black experience is, you know, as a young kid, you grew up in a penthouse with a chauffeur, and you know, you know, it's.
I'm
You know what I'm
surprised she
saying?
said
So,
the shit she said, because, you know, I was like, oh, she's one of these woke progressives. And then she said, yo, the DEI is even some bullshit. I'm like, oh, shit, she said it. Because a lot of these white progressives, you know, they
well,
buy
listen,
into that
hold on.
DEI shit and won't say it.
In her words, just because she's saying these things, that doesn't mean she's not. So she's still her, and she acknowledges that. See, that was the thing that I like honesty. You know what I'm saying? I like transparency. So she's never once taken off the table who she is and how she benefits and blah, blah, blah. What I appreciate is that she said, listen, the reason why I'm going to do this lecture and I'm going to say these things is because I have been able to come up faster than people who may have been equally or better suited because I'm white. I've benefited from my whiteness. So I know this is a real thing. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna go ahead and put this out there, and you know, now because she's letting her political views out and some of them other things, I know that she's a part of that critical race. You know, so there's certain things that I just have pet peeves with that I'm just not willing to let, you know, relent on. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, all things being considered, she's still, you know, she's putting them out there. She's putting it out there. And if you guys at home, some of you are watching, there's probably people watching this that's like, what the hell are EnQi and Hotep Jesus? What are they talking about? Why is this even important? Okay, this is the part where I have to remind you folks that civics, politics is important. You gotta learn about some of these things, because you know, it's cool to complain about decisions that's being made, but you know, we got to start busting up in some of these rooms.
This is one of the most important discussions you can have.
Yeah, you gotta start busting up in some of these rooms. You got to start becoming a part of the process, and before you can do any of that, you got to have these conversations so you become aware. You got to know, what is an equity? What is that? What's an equity group? What's an equity board? What is that? Is that all across? I don't live in Oakland. I don't have to worry about that. They don't have that where I live at. Yes, they do. You're just not aware that there's a group of white folks from Kansas that's deciding what your experience should be. Oh shit.
I'm going to ask another rhetorical question to the people. Is it doesn't instructive people in white people in those teams. The key is it doesn't certify you. Nothing certifies you. It's the complacency and the arrogance, right? Which of course sets up defensiveness. Right? I'm going to ask another rhetorical question to the people of color in the room. Do you have white people whom you love dearly and who on occasion reveal a racist worldview to you? Yes. Okay, white people, did you hear that? Yeah. Could you even be married to them? Yes. Okay. White people, did you hear that? Okay. Let me put it this way. I'm married to a man. He's a white man. Trust me, the day he fell in love with me, all his sexism did not vanish. Au contraire. He's a product of patriarchy, as am I. It comes out and we struggle with it. And I would never say we are free of all gender conditioning and all sexist dynamics because we love each other. But notice the moment there's fond regard, all race and racism and racial bias disappears for white people. We're very funny on this one. Okay? Well, this is probably popular in Oakland. We don't like how white our neighborhood is or is getting, but we had to move here for the schools. What could we do? I think it's disingenuous. I think we do like how white our neighborhoods are. And I don't think our kids can be exceptional and have the best if somebody didn't have less. I think that's a hard conversation we need to have. But these are, of course, all colors celebrate narratives. I see it, I embrace it. There's a question that's never failed me in my efforts to uncover how do we get the outcomes we're getting then if this is what's going on. And that question isn't, is this true or is this false? Were you or weren't you taught to treat everyone the same? We're going to debate that. The question that's never failed me is, how do these narratives function in the conversation? What happens when racism gets on the table and a white person invokes one of these narratives? And when we ask that question, I think we can see that all of them exempt the person from any part of the problem. All of them take racism off the table, nothing to see here. In doing that, all of them close rather than open the exploration. And in doing that, all of them protect the current racial hierarchy and the white position within it. They're exemptors and closers and protectors. And you don't have to be consciously thinking, I know what I'll do. But that's the impact that they have. Okay? We really need to ask ourselves, what framework of meaning am I coming from that this would seem to me to be good evidence? And how do I actually know how it's landing on the other side? Okay? So we're going to do a little turn and talk. You have to come back when I call you. But I am going to have you turn to the person next to you. Those of you that are in this work know that we often caution white people, don't take up all the space, don't talk first, and because that's our usual pattern, until it's a high-risk question on race. Oh, then I'm going to let the person of color go first, and then I'll just model whatever I say on whatever they just said. Okay. So if you turn and the person, you're interracial, one of you is white person, go first. Take that risk. Do not give the race work to people of color. All right, so this question you're going to answer if you're white is basically, how do you credential yourself in conversations about race? What moves do you make to signal that you're not racist or you're less racist? Never met a white person who doesn't do this. I do this. I try not to do this. I catch myself doing it. And if I told you that people of color notice when we're doing this, how do you think it's actually impacting the conversation? Okay? And if you are Black, Indigenous, person of color, the question is, how have you noticed white people credentialing themselves? And does it work? And just before I forget, a group of people had asked if I could go out for a drink after the talk, and I can't do that because it's Monday night. Yeah, Monday night I have my Ta-Nehisi Coates book study group. And I always... I always follow it with a double feature of Black Panther and Get Out. My 5th time, actually. And now I have to add Green Book, so I'm just booked. I'm not going to be able to go out for a drink, but I just gave you 4 more moods. So could be something I've named, could be something, but just how do you do it and what do you think about it now? Okay, so just give you a couple minutes.
I don't understand that part. I'm confused. I'm lost. What do you mean when a white person credentials themselves? What does he mean by that?
How a white person explains that they're not racist.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not racist because I watch black movies. I have a black friend. I have, you know.
Yeah.
So again, it's probably another hour of it, but I think we got to the gist of it. I want you to give us your synopsis.
I'm blown away. I'm blown away because
Like that.
I'm trying to figure out because when she gives those examples of white people credentialing, it's true that be the go-to for white people. That's the shit they be saying, and I never really thought about it. Like she done broke it down into this whole science. So I never really thought about it like that. Like they're credentialing themselves. I just you know what it is? I just don't give a fuck. That's what, like, I only think about things I care about.
I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. Yo, something's wrong with this nigga. Something is wrong with this nigga. Something's wrong with Something's wrong with. Listen, the water in Hotepistan.
I'm just like, I just don't give a fuck how white people feel. Like whether you're a liberal or a so-called conservative, I really just don't give a fuck. I just, you guys they
Or
mean
Chinese people, or
yeah,
people that
Chinese
are in
people,
Nigeria, or people that are in Brazil right now. Like,
right? Yeah, I don't
it's
give a
not
shit.
it's not a specific thing, even though it's the subject matter we're discussing. I just
Right.
like it's one of those. Okay, so you do realize that tonight I still have to do the same work that I have to do tomorrow morning when I get up. Like, this is not, everything's still pretty much.
But at the same time, it's like go back to that one slide she showed where they was credentialing. Pull that up on the screen. I want to analyze this.
Oh shit!
Where she said that the ones where she said the different excuses they give.
Oh man, I don't know if I can find it.
Rewind that. Rewind it a little bit.
Okay, hold on.
I want to look at that slide. Right before that. Keep going. Keep going. Right there.
Wait.
Yeah. I was taught to treat everyone the same. I've heard that one before. And I want to think about these, right? I was taught to treat everyone the same. So this is on the topic of races. Like when you bring racism up and he said, so what she's saying is that they immediately exempt themselves.
They attempt to immediately exempt themselves, but what she's saying is that they're only exempting themselves in their own mind.
Right.
Because the person that they're attempting to exempt themselves to is thinking in their mind, this person's full of shit.
Right. And then, all right, so what's the next one? I work in a very diverse environment. It's crazy she got these mapped out because these is the responses I get personally.
Now, here's the flip side, though. Here's the flip side. A lot of times when people are having debates, right, or you're having a conversation that people disagree on, or, a lot of times people aren't really having the same conversation.
Yeah.
People will, like I have somebody, a sister that I argue with all the time. Me and her always have debates back and forth. And I'll be like, well, hold on. You do know you just said XYZ. And she goes, yeah. I'm like, but okay, so you do realize that XYZ means this. Well, I'm not using it that way. I'm using it like this. And I'm like, okay, see, we can't do that because if you take the word and turn the definition into something else, then we're having two different conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about this and you're talking about. So, you know, how would you explain if somebody said, Hotep, Jesus, you're a racist? How would you credential yourself and explain
I'm
to
a
that?
racist. You right. Got me. Hate all you motherfuckers. Can't stand you. I take everybody on an individual basis, but groups, tribes, yeah, I don't like any tribe but my own. I love black
Now,
people. If you're not black people, I don't love your tribe. Your tribe to me is an enemy. Now,
now
on an
let me ask you
individual
this.
level, it's different.
Now let me ask you this,
Mm-hmm.
because if you say that, some people would immediately have a knee-jerk reaction, right?
Okay.
Which is everybody's entitled to. That's why I told my mods kind of listen, over here, I got my mods trained like Hashashin.
Same.
Hashashin. You know what I'm saying?
Same.
Anything looks shoot them first and let God sort them out. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
get them up. But this topic, this conversation, you know, kind of just let people react and have their space to do whatever they need to do, say what they got to say. If we take this outside the realm of people, right? Because see, a lot of times what I'm learning is that there are social taboos that may not exist in the scientific space. And sometimes in the scientific space, our social taboos hold us back.
Yeah.
Because socially, it's rude in a lot of spaces to discuss the differences between white folks and black folks.
Yeah.
But a lot of the problems we have with our health is that the system is not, we're not funding our own research. We're not building our own hospitals. We're not building. So we're subject to going to places that were constructed and paid for by Chinese folks for Chinese folks, funded and paid for by Jewish folks for Jewish folks, funded and paid for by German folks for German folks. Now, because of the law, of course, they service everybody, but they're servicing you based on the standards of their folks, which if you get you fall down and you need stitches, chances are you're good. There's not a difference between a white person and a black person that's going to, you're good. Go get you some stitches. You don't have to worry about it. You need a cast on your arm, you're good. But if we start to get into the weeds and the nuances and we start to talk about blood values, and you might get, and there's, roughly 100,000 people that die from mistakes, medical mistakes. You know what I'm saying? On in different categories too. So you got to ask yourself, how many people are having a medical mistake? Now, regardless, it's a mistake. But how many times is the mistake due to the doctor making a mistake, or due to differences that were never taught to the doctor? And so you just went ahead and assumed, well, this is, so yeah, let's just go ahead and mitochondria is mitochondria. Everybody's mitochondria works the same. So yeah, let's go ahead and
Right.
50 cc's of this or whatever, and it doesn't work this way because there are inherent differences that aren't being addressed. You know, if we talk about um, traits that are passed down person to person, like if we say, you know, especially in the soft, taboo, you know, if we talk about traits being passed down amongst people, that's a taboo conversation. That's crazy. But as a dog breeder, this is what it is. When you get your dog, you pay extra money for that. You pay extra money, same dog you buying, but the seller charges you based on, they say they ask you right when you buying your dog. If you're buying your dog from a real dealer, they're gonna ask you, is this gonna be a pet? Or are you trying to breed? Because if you're gonna get a pet versus breeding, there's different classes of dogs. If you're trying to breed, they know you want that paperwork, then you got to get one of these dogs. These dogs over here, these dogs start at $2,500 right here. This dog started $2,500. Now you want a pet? We got some of them over there, $600-700. You can get one of them right there.
Yeah, pedigree. If you
Yeah.
want that pedigree, yeah, you got to pay more.
Right, because them dogs right there, them dogs have been fed a certain type of way. They behave a certain type of way. They've had extensive training. Their parents have had extensive training. They come from champions of this, champions of that. And the whole idea is every one of those traits is inheritable.
Yeah.
This is why they kill dogs that attack kids.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't want that dog to reproduce anymore because that trait might be inheritable.
Mm-hmm.
But if a person gets locked up and then you say, oh man, well, your dad went to jail because he was a rapist. You might be a rapist. That's you all the way out of, you. So there's certain things that you can say with, so for instance, back to your original statement. If we were able to communicate with animals, like if animals spoke English, we're just gonna have a mental experiment, a thought experiment. If we could communicate with animals and we asked the lion if the lion was, how the lion felt about cheetahs and panthers. We would expect the lion to say, well, them niggas cool, I guess, but lions is up. It's right. I'm lion centric because I'm a lion.
Right.
Right. We asked, we would expect that. But if you ask a person that same question and they give you that same answer, then it's a knee-jerk reaction to go, well, wait a minute. Hotep Jesus said he puts himself before everyone else. That's kind of like law of survival kind of,
Correct.
So I think that's where maybe prejudice, racism, oppression, that's where, because a lot of times in regular conversation, go ahead.
The issue is hypocrisy. That's the shit I don't like. White people, especially the red whites, the woke right, they come out and they say, we don't see color. I was taught to treat everyone the same. Put down your identity politics. Then as soon as some farmers in South Africa get their ass kicked by the native black population, now all of a sudden they care about white farmers. Now all of a sudden they're identifying as white. As soon as the liberal left, the progressives start talking about white men, all of a sudden they identify as white. If you didn't identify as white, you'd be like, well, I don't identify as white, so they ain't talking about me. So it's the hypocrisy that I don't like. It's the double speak. Now, coming back to what she said before, right? What she said, these excuses that white people have, these, I was taught to treat everyone the same. I work in a very diverse environment, blah, 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 blah. These I figured out the flaw in this. This is a flaw in her argument. This is not exclusive to the race conversation. This is not exclusive to white people. Everyone does this.
Boom. That's what I'm saying. There's certain things that have a social taboo attached. So if they're said in a certain context, we have an emotional knee-jerk reaction. But I don't know any humans that are raised to treat everybody the same. Parents don't even treat all their kids the same.
Right. But for example, right, if I were to be like, most people have cereal for breakfast. A lot of people first response is, well, I don't have cereal for breakfast. It's like, nigga, I ain't talking about you.
Clearly.
Right. But this is a common, I find this when I talk to people, because I do that a lot because of my channel. I find a lot of people do that. You mention something and then they try to exclude themselves. It's like, nigga, obviously we're not talking about you. We're talking about macro versus micro. You're the individual. We're talking about groups. And this is really like some insecurity with people, right? This is an individual insecurity self-defense mechanism that's happening here.
Because other than that, you don't have victim mentality to tap into.
Right. So this concept of, these excuses that white people give, this is not exclusive to the race conversation. Everybody tries to find a way to exclude themselves from being grouped in with others. And that's because they're just insecure. They're afraid you might group them in with other people, and they want to make sure that they delineate themselves from other people, which I get, but it's really a low brain thing, a small brain thing. When you're like, I remember I was talking about relationships and how a couple should operate. And then the gentleman that was in the conversation, well, I don't do that with my girl. And it's like, nigga, we ain't talking about you and your girl. So that to me, let me know he's feeling a little insecure about being grouped in with these other people.
And chances are, a lot of times, when a person feel a need to act out like that, you might be him.
That's him.
Be him. Yeah, you might be him, since you felt the need to jump out there. Well, that ain't how I. Hold on, family. Ain't nobody said nothing. What's that? Are you trying to tell us something right now? Are you all right? Yeah. Nobody volunteered you, but you seem to feel. So you must have a personal connection to
the subject matter. Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess overall, though, like I said, even though I still have my differences, my nitpicking, I still have, I still feel certain ways about her gender attaching, her attaching gender and sex to ideas of race and genetics.
I want to speak to her.
That would be nice. And I think you could get her.
I'm about to reach out to her right now.
I think you could get her on Hotep to bring her to Hotepistan.
Yeah.
Now hold up. Wait a minute. Hold on. Let him cook. You was asking, who did we want to see at HotepCon? That might be a vibe.
No.
I don't think Nigga Girl would be good.
Nigga Girl would not be good.
That'd be murder.
Nigga Girl definitely not invited. Yeah, I definitely don't want fucking some person that calls us BIPOC at my party. I got a lot of issues with what she does. You know what I'm saying? And she gonna have to set a lot of this shit straight. That BIPOC shit gotta fucking go. That patriarchy shit gotta fucking go. I got a lot of hangups with her, but I agree on 50% of what she said. I agree. Like when she stuck to the race conversation, I agree with some of that. But I think her perspective is off because she's white. It's like, you speaking on behalf of, first of all, she's speaking on behalf of Black women. She's not speaking from a masculine perspective. So when she says, you have these conversations with white folks and you feel a certain way, she's talking about how Black women feel and pussy ass Black women at that, not real Black women. Most of us Black folks, we had these conversations with white folks. It's funny to us, their level of ignorance or responses to these conversations. We don't really give a fuck what white people think. Like real niggas don't really give a fuck. So what she's doing in many ways is making us look weak. And that shit I don't like neither.
This is where I try to see things from as many views as possible. So this is where there's a space where this is one large psyop where they are actually initiating what they're putting the tag on, as if they're trying to, we're going to challenge the racism and, hopefully we can help get rid of racism by challenging it in this way and blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's a vibe. But also you might just be initiating it and training folks that may have no concept of this, and you may be instilling victimhood in quote unquote coloreds and instilling, because a lot of times children don't know any of these things until they're exposed. Children just know what they've been exposed to. You know what I'm saying? And, I've had a lot of experiences in my life. I've had a lot of wild, crazy, super overt racist experiences. I've had subtle, what the fuck did he just say? I've had some of those. And then I've had situations where, white folks that didn't have to damn near save my life. You know what I'm saying? That, so I've had a wide range of experiences to be able to pull from. There are white folks that have wide ranges of experience to pull from. And then there are people that don't have a wide range of experience to pull from. And so their perspective is limited to what one or two interactions they may have had, or what perceived interactions they may think is going on. But because they're not engaged, they're not outside, they don't know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Like, people got to get outside. That's why a lot of times I'll tell people I'm from the Bronx, and they may not get it. The Bronx, we grew up, everybody was in my neighborhood. Everybody was in my neighborhood. You know what I'm saying? Like, and we talking about in the 80s. You know what I'm saying? I got Chris with his older brother, Peter. You know what I'm saying? Like, now we had some other white folks, but Chris and Peter was with us. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm talking about Chris got the bandana. Now, this is before bandanas had gang affiliation, obviously, but you got the thin plastic skateboard. This is when skateboarding was real skateboarding. Mm-hmm. This is before they had the thick skateboarding, the thin skateboard, like going down breakneck, So we had, our neighborhood was, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Jamaicans, Haitians, and everybody was based on whoever their nationality was. You know what I'm saying? Germans was Germans, Puerto Ricans was Puerto Ricans, Italians was Italians, Irish folk was Irish. It wasn't a black or white thing, because everybody was kind of at each other's throats. Like Jamaicans was at it with the Haitians and the Dominicans. Mind you, these are all black folks. You know what I'm saying? So you just have different experiences. You know what I'm saying? And I think that when you lump people together, it's hard to have a progressive conversation. Once you go people of color, you damn near. I know women that damn near ready to put Vaseline on and get ready to fight once you call them people of color. Like they
right.
get play with.
Yeah,
like,
I don't play that shit.
Like, hold on, you got me fucked up. Did she just call me people of color? Like, what we doing here? But I still can still pull something positive away from the conversation. Because like I said, at the end of the conversation, I'm going to go ahead and give her benefit of the doubt because, I'm going to give her extra credit. When I judge it, I'm going to give her an extra 10 points. I'm going to give her extra credit because she's still saying some things that need to be said. And I'm not even solely speaking about a white person saying these things to white folks. I'm also interested in hearing the black response from hearing this from a white person. You know what I'm saying? It's like, look, do you know that white folks are having these conversations? Like, how would you respond? How would you feel to, so I don't know. That's my take. I think it's a good conversation to have all the way around.
Yeah. But I gotta get to bed, man. I gotta get some sleep, man. I'm about to fucking pass out.
Appreciate you. Matter of fact, I'm gonna hit you as soon as I yeah.
Peace to the family. This is Abdul Ali, candidate for U.S. House District.
What you saying?
Great. No, I said great conversation today.
Yeah. Always.
I just put the APB out for Robin. See if I get in contact with her. But nah, man, great as usual. And whenever you want to do this again, just hit me, man. We make it happen.
Yeah, I'm about to hit your phone.
All right, say a little.
Peace to the family. This is Abdul Ali, candidate for U.S. House District 12 here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Let's just be real, folks. The Democrats have destroyed our major cities. Their policies have made us less safe. They've given us less economic opportunity, and they've provided less educational opportunities for our children. And that's why I'm running for Congress, because...
Peace and blessings out there to everybody. My name is Dr. EnQi, the founder of the Melanin versus Diabetes movement and ministry. Our goal is to fight diabetes by creating a biochemically literate society, one book at a time, one person at a time, one household at a time. Join us now.
The world knew New York as Muslims, as gods. When I was growing up, we had knowledge of self. I was a God body. I'm still acknowledging myself as that. I had knowledge of self. New York, we need to get back to being civilized. F this gang shit. F the blood. F the crip. Let's go back to the seasons, nigga.
Back to the
Let's go back to being civilized.
It ain't no fun when a rabbit got the gun, you heard?